Okay, I'm just running here to test out my camera. Let's try this again. Don't know what happened for those folks who were in here and how the broadcast froze. As you know, we were talking about January 6th and trying to get to the truth on a few things and asking from a MAGA perspective, as I typically prefer doing, talking to MAGA, what they thought about what took place on January 6th. And for some reason, my entire live stream froze. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it appears that most Trump supporters, Republicans, and folks who lean right do not believe what took place on January 6th was of any significant harm at all. And those who are on the other side believe it was a insurrection or attempt to overthrow the government. Twilight Times, you said, I think January 6th was a joke. Okay, fair enough. I guess I'd ask you, if January 6th was a joke, who was the laughing party? Who got the last laugh in regards to January 6th being a joke? That's just in regards to what you're stating. If you believe January 6th was a joke, who laughed? Who found it funny? Who got the last laugh on that? I'm doing good, Trucker. 30 years. Good evening. All these dang liberals ruining TikTok. How you doing, Trucker? But like I said, for you guys who are watching, will you be tuning in to the live broadcast of the hearings or whatever, the investigation on what took place on January 6th? Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central is when that's going to be happening. I'm just curious, how many of you folks are going to tune into that? And real quick, I played a few other videos earlier. I want you guys to listen to this. Apparently, Ashley Babbitt, because we talked about Ashley Babbitt and whether that was a justifiable shooting or not. I want you just to listen to this. I'm not going to put the video on the screen, but I'll let you hear the audio of it. Tell me what you think.
We're learning more about the Ocean Beach woman killed while breaking into the Capitol building on Wednesday, including some troubling interactions. News 8's David Gofferton spoke to a San Diego man who says he ended up firing Ashley Babbitt after a rant about her political beliefs over the phone.
We started with Fowler Pool Service about 33 years ago.
This San Diego man does not want to be identified for fear of retaliation. He was a loyal customer of Fowler's Pool Service for more than 3 decades, until a conversation he had about a year ago with the co-owner of the Spring Valley Company, Ashley Babbitt. A conversation he will never forget.
I brought it up, I think, about a political race that had just happened. And Ashley absolutely went off and just started talking about people who oppose Trump and about Nancy Pelosi and Schumer and homeless people. And she said, I'm not going to have any homeless people crapping in my front yard. And it just didn't even, a lot of it didn't even make any sense. She was so, and literally went on for about a minute and a half.
Ashley Babbitt is the Trump supporter who was shot and killed by Capitol Police on Wednesday as she tried to storm through a window towards the House chamber. Babbitt and her family purchased the pool service company 3 years ago from the family that owned the business for 4 decades. The Fowler family currently has no connection to the business.
It was shocking that she would be talking to a customer the way she was talking to me and using a variety of 4-letter words.
The San Diego customer said he stopped doing business with the company, telling the pool service man in person he was fired.
I said, I'm going to have to let you guys go. I said, I just think it was too much. And so he said, she's done that to other customers and I'm going to talk to her. And I said, well, I'm sorry. And so I hired another pool company.
The pool company's Spring Valley office was closed Friday when News 8 showed up. A sign on the front door announced a mask-free zone. There was a bouquet of red roses delivered on the front stoop of the office, addressed to Babbitt's husband, Aaron. A neighboring business owner told us to leave the property and close the gate behind us. Babbitt's husband works for that pool service company, and so do several of his family members. We reached out to the family for a response, but we did not hear back. Carlo?
And David, what does the Fowler family have to say about all this publicity surrounding Ashley Babbitt?
I spoke to the former owner of that company. He says he retired and sold the business 3 years ago, and he has no personal relationship with Ashley Babbitt or her family. He simply sold them the business.
Okay, I just wanted to play that. If somebody in the audience said, "Who cares?" or something like that, oh my God, I don't care. It says cigars and guns. I don't care either. I just thought that was interesting because in regards to talking about January 6th, Ashley Babbitt undoubtedly will come up since she's the most well-known victim from that day. So I did some research on her because we were debating whether the shooting was justifiable or not, and that came up in the research. In regards to your question, oh my God, I don't care. Neither do I. Neither do I. But I just wanted to present that. Let's let Democrats tell it. It's when Pearl Harbor took place. What are you saying there, Nathan Strong? I don't get that. Hey, it's been a minute been working. Well, I'm glad to see you back. I'm glad to see you back. I'm blessed. Good to see you. I hope all has been well. Media is a stage. Okay, I talked to somebody earlier that said this. This is coming from Nicole Jessica. She's suggesting that Ashley Babbitt is still alive. She is still alive and they paid her off. Crisis actors everywhere. Nicole, are you the one I spoke to earlier that was suggesting that Ashley Babbitt is still among the living? Someone else told me that earlier as well. Okay, looking at the real quick, or better yet, the censorship. Okay, I don't know if we spoke before, Patriot. You will never be censored here, and I appreciate talking to Patriots. This is a MAGA friendly zone. How are you doing this evening?
We have talked before. We talked about, I think it was a couple days ago, about marriage.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we're talking about January 6th now, and the question I'm asking is, um, do you believe what happened on January 6th was a peaceful protest with a legitimate cause or a bona fide attempt to overthrow the government?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. Because the people that I was talking to, because there was a bunch of us that had on Discord that talked to each other about
Mm-hmm.
everything going on, because we couldn't really talk on here because we all got blocked or banned or whatever.
Yeah, I get it.
They were talking about doing a rally on January 6th to show Trump we got his back.
Okay.
Like we're still here with him, even though the election was a load of crap. We're still here with him. I
Okay.
chose I chose not to go because I know from past experiences that if you don't have a very organized rally or anything for that matter, chaos is going to ensue. And I think that's what happened is you had the wrong people take charge of a whole group of people that were already upset and they did something dumb.
So let me ask you this question. Do you hold Trump or Giuliani or Don Jr., do you hold them accountable in any way for what took place there that day?
No.
Okay. Because and the reason I asked you that is because when you just stated when you hold an unorganized event full of angry people, it's kind of predictable something could go wrong. So I'm asking you that because they're the ones who hosted that event.
Well, and that's the thing. I think from everything that I've read on it, Trump was still speaking when they went to the Capitol.
I've heard that too, and let me tell you why I would suggest that that doesn't make sense. I've heard other folks that suggest that Trump was still speaking when the breach of the Capitol took place, and the reason it doesn't make sense is because the Secret Service is ushering out Mike Pence. The Secret Service, regardless of how folks feel, if you think the protesters were harmless or not, clearly the Secret Service thought that there was a threat. So the Secret Service is ushering out Mike Pence under cover of security, and you're only, you're less than a mile away from the president. So here's my point: if you think the vice president is in danger to the point where you got to usher him out, why would you let the actual president, less than a mile away, continue speaking to a crowd where no one has been searched? They got a gallows on the lawn talking about hanging the vice president. You would immediately grab Trump and yank him off stage.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there was so much chaos going on. I was I was heading on the interstate whenever it all came out that that's what happened, and it's all chaotic of what, like, you got different things from different people. Like they said that they broke in by force, and then weeks later you
Hmm.
saw of police letting them in through the doors, holding the
Right.
doors up for them,
Right.
letting them in, and they're
It's probably like you
oh,
said when I asked you originally, is Trump responsible or no? I asked you originally, was it a peaceful protest or an attempt to overthrow it? And you said it's a combination of both. It
yes.
could be a combination of both in regards to how they got in the building as well. Some were let in, some broke in.
Well, and that's the thing. There's a former friend of mine that was on the front lines whenever they went in. He right
Okay.
now has the most federal charges against him out of any of them because
Damn.
he punched a cop in the face. He broke uh he broke a glass door, and he broke something else. I don't remember what else he broke. Um he's looking at a lot of time because of it.
Why did he do that in a peaceful protest?
See, that's the thing. He said that him and a bunch of others just decided to go down there. That's what he said. He said
And
it.
what led to him punching the cop?
Well, that's the thing. I don't agree with that. I think them going down there, it should have remained peaceful. I'm all for that. If it was to remain peaceful, I wouldn't have had an issue with it. But I don't
Okay.
with them punching a cop in the face. I don't agree with them destroying stuff. And
And let me respond to 502 X locks in the comments because I asked why would you leave Trump speaking to a crowd full of people that have not been searched if less than a mile or two away the vice president is being ushered out under the security of the Secret Service? He suggested because they were patriots and no threat. Well, if the claim is that Antifa and Black Lives Matter is in the crowd, how do you know there's no threat? I mean, nobody's been searched. You don't even know who these people are. So how can you suggest that they're no threat to the president when you haven't patted anybody down and you're admitting that Antifa or Black Lives Matter is in the crowd? That
well,
doesn't fit the narrative that they're patriots or that
that
they mean no threat. So
that
you can't you got to pick and choose which way you're going with this. Either that crowd was all MAGA or that there were Antifa and Black Lives Matter agitators in the crowd. It can't be both. If you want to suggest that everybody was harmless and no threat to the president, then that would mean that Antifa and Black Lives Matter was not there that day. Does that make sense for Patriot?
no, and that's the thing. Like the dude behind you, the buffalo hat dude. He I've done some digging into him, and
Okay.
he to me was paid to be there.
Really?
Yes, because he has also shown up in Black Lives Matter rallies. I think it was in Arizona and another state, and Antifa in Portland.
Well, let me say it like this. If there were paid agitators, it would fall under the category of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If somebody pays you to be a lookout driver at a bank robbery, you're going to get charged. You know what if you're at Black Lives Matter riots where they're looting stores and shit, and you let somebody pay you to participate in that, if they go down, you're going down with them. So if he was paid to be there and he was that dumb, then so be it.
Well, right, and that's the thing. And these people asking for sources, I had them all on my Facebook before my Facebook got deleted, and the way that they did it, anybody that was involved with January 6th, their Facebook profiles got deleted. You can't find anything on them. Just like the Ashley Babbitt video. That video was around for maybe 2 to 3 days, and then it was gone.
Which video of Ashley Babbitt?
Of her actually getting shot, of her lying on the ground. I saw that video.
Oh, right, right. I mean, well,
I saw.
the video of her lying on the ground being shot. Was there? Did that prove something? Are you suggesting that there was
I
something
think.
to that?
I think that police officer should have been charged because I was in law enforcement. You don't just willingly open fire in a crowd. You don't do that. She was unarmed. From the video that I've seen, she completely
But
unarmed.
how would he have known she was unarmed?
Well, that's the thing. They had tasers, or they're supposed to have tasers. You use as the way that we were taught. The way that we were taught was, if you're not sure, don't shoot. Because
Well, let me say it like this. I think that when it comes to the way police are taught to handle situations like that, it's very rare that you're going to be encountering, thousands of angry people at the same time within a few feet of you. So that what you're talking about using a taser, that might be appropriate to use on one or two people. But if you got a crowd with thousands of folks in front of you and they're all angry, tasing one of them is going to probably lead to you getting your ass kicked by all of the rest of them. Okay, he tases her and she falls to the ground. The same folks who are saying it was an unjustifiable shooting are going to say it's an unjustifiable tasing. So
well,
now you got to deal with all these other people.
they would be wrong in saying it was unjustified tasing, because they did break the law. They did, by being there. They were on restricted access areas, in restricted access areas. So they were breaking the law. And how many of them? That use of force would have been 100% okay. But I think him just openly just shooting into a crowd, there's no telling who he could have hurt. There is no telling whatsoever who he could have hurt. And for
Well,
the people in the comments saying
go
that
ahead.
I only care about how police use their force now, I've called out every bad cop that has made a bad decision that has gone public, like Derek Chauvin in the George Floyd case. Called him out. My own father was a
Well,
victim of police brutality. I'm not afraid to call out bad cops.
okay, here's my point I would make on it. You're standing there, okay, as a Capitol Police officer. You got two or three people behind you who are deathly afraid, which is why they're standing behind you, because you got the badge and the gun. There is a window, a barricade between you and the crowd. The crowd has already broken part of that window out. And even though you have a gun aimed at the crowd, they're trying to get through that window. What would you do?
Well, honestly, I think that was a failure on the police around DC, because there is no way that should have escalated to the way that it did without any police response, or a military response for that matter, because the military shouldn't be no more than 5 minutes from the president in DC. So
Okay, but hang on a second. Hang on a second. But that's a different argument. I'm talking about the cop that's on the inside. He has nothing to do with the failure of the police outside. What should that cop do? He got people behind him that's cowering for their safety, and hoping he does something. They got a barricade that's preventing the crowd from getting to them, and the crowd has broken the barricade and is trying to come through it. What should that officer do?
honestly, I don't know. Like that's the kind of that would be an in the moment situation. It would
Well,
be.
it was. And that's why I'm asking you that. I'm asking you that with all due respect. It was an in the moment situation.
I mean, honestly, for what I would have done in that situation, I would have used as least a lethal weapon as possible. Most of them carry pepper spray. Pepper spray is a good alternative because you can get more people than with the taser.
Okay. I think some of this boils down to Monday morning quarterback. And I mean, at the very least, you would agree that the officer had a legitimate reason to feel like he was being threatened, correct?
Right. I mean, I agree with him not being charged, because I can see from that perspective of there being so many people.
Right.
But I think it was a negligent decision on his end of not using as least a lethal weapon as possible.
Now, do you believe Ashley Babbitt did anything wrong?
No. From the video
Okay.
that I saw, she wasn't even near the door when she got shot.
Okay, that right. I can tell you right off the bat that part is not true. I got a video above. I'm gonna play. I played it a minute ago, and it's from the news with video of that day. But I'm gonna finish up with you first, and then play it. But I guess my question I would ask is, I bet you what I would say as opposed to a question is, it doesn't matter if an individual is a bank robber, a military member, or a police officer. If anyone is aiming a gun at you and yelling instructions, do not ignore that person. It doesn't matter who they are. I mean, you're looking down the barrel of a firearm and the crowd is yelling, this man has a gun, and no one in the crowd is adhering to what's being said. So this is why I asked you, do you believe Ashley Babbitt, did anything wrong? And that's my point is that.
Well, yeah, I 100% think that she was in the wrong. I mean, me personally, I've had to point a gun at somebody whenever I was at the prison. I've had a gun pointed at me. It's not a good feeling, and it scared the living crap out of me. So that's on her. It is on her. It is on everybody
All
that was
right.
there.
And that's the point I was trying to make. That's the point I was trying to make. Okay, fair enough. All right, well, let me move it on, man. I appreciate you
All
coming
right.
through again. Okay,
Yes, sir.
catch you later. All right, you have a good night. Okay, I'll one more time. This is about, I think it's 4 minutes long, and we will discuss this.
I am afraid because I know there's people that disagree with my actions on January the 6th. But I hope they understand I did my job. And there was imminent threats and danger to the members of Congress.
In the chaotic minutes before Lieutenant Michael Byrd shot and killed rioter Ashley Babbitt, a cascade of alarming messages crackled through his police radio.
The yells for help and, officer down and screaming as they're being assaulted.
This video from inside the House chamber captures Byrd instructing members of Congress to don gas masks.
We got a disbursement of tear gas in the rotunda.
Then, instructions to prepare for the worst.
I'd ask them to remove their pins, to remove their jackets, to look like staff as much as possible, and to seek shelter by staying down below their chairs.
Soon, a horde of demonstrators stormed up the stairs to the House chamber. Byrd is seen taking a defensive posture with his gun drawn.
I didn't even realize I had been yelling and screaming as loud as I was. Please stop, get back, stop.
We see your arm out there for a considerable amount of time.
Yes.
Were you wavering?
I was, again, taking a tactical stance. You're ultimately hoping that your commands will be complied with, and unfortunately they were not.
What did you think this individual was doing at that moment?
She was posing a threat to the United States House of Representatives.
But an attorney for Ashley Babbitt's family disputes that. He did not respond to our request for a comment, but in a previous statement said Babbitt was not brandishing a weapon, not in close proximity to members of Congress, and was not an imminent threat of death or serious injury to anyone. Based on your training, in that case, does it matter that the person was armed or not?
According to law, it does not. I know based on my training and my policy, what I did was appropriate.
Multiple investigations have now upheld Byrd's actions on January 6th. Have you continued to question your actions that day?
I knew that day. I followed my training, and I spent countless years preparing for such a moment. You ultimately hope that moment never occurs, but you prepare as best you can. I know that day I saved countless lives.
If Ashley Babbitt's family is watching this, is there anything you would say to them?
What I would like to say is to all the families from January the 6th that their family members receive injury or loss of life, as my heart goes out to them. I'm sorry for their loss and what they're dealing with. And I pray that they find peace and comfort
Well, Lester, as you know, one of the chief criticisms of Lieutenant Byrd from the beginning has been there were other officers in similar situations that day who did not fire their weapons. What, if anything, did he say about that?
No, I asked him directly about that, and he says he can't judge their actions or their circumstances. He believes he did what was appropriate. Anecdotally, I've heard from officers who have talked about the proximity in some of those situations was just so close that the idea of withdrawing a weapon and using it didn't seem like an option, but he says they'll have to speak for themselves.
How did he decide to sit down? What was his motivation?
The threats had been mounting. He felt that his story wasn't getting out. There was a narrative that was making its way around the internet, and he thought it was time to come out and talk. And we should point out that he is, there are several investigations that are part of a deadly use of force, and they have all cleared him of wrongdoing.
All right, Lester, thank you so much. And of course, you're going to have more on Nightly News.
Okay, somebody said, who cares about that? What about the gas prices? Biden sucks on the gas prices. I think there'll be a red wave in November. It is what it is. But I'm bringing this to you guys because there's going to be live coverage of the investigation during Thursday evening. And that's why we're talking about January 6th. Otherwise, it's an old event that already took place. But in regards to Ashley Babbitt, I see Loving Life said no one should have been there. Certainly in that capacity when you got folks that are cowering, and it's one thing to go inside the Capitol building because it is the people's building. But when you start damaging property and breaking into cordoned off areas and things like that, all resemblance of a peaceful tour of the Capitol building is lost. So I understand some of you folks believe that it was not a justifiable shooting. Even when I'm speaking to folks, they're admitting that at the very least, even if you don't think the guy should have shot her, legitimate reason to feel threatened because they were proceeding on. Fuzzer, P, nice. Good evening.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Have you been watching this?
I have. I actually first chimed in because I wanted to talk about something else off topic, but I can talk about this for a minute. And some people in this chat are not going to be. I'm going to be as blunt as possible. Ashley Babbitt got what she deserved. She was a military veteran that should have known better, should have upheld her constitutional vow, and she was running the front lines and got closer to the vice president than anyone else. And I've done videos on this. I'm sorry, I hate to say it. I would hate the thought of that anyone died in that, but at what point do you say you guys have come far enough?
Right.
They have to draw a line. And I think that's where I'm surprised they even allowed it to go as far as it did before it got shot.
Good point. And my take on it is the reason it was allowed to go as far as it did is because they were woefully outnumbered. I said that earlier, that if you had just a handful of protesters in that building yelling, "Hey, Mike Pence," and things like that, and it was only 5 or 6 of them, or maybe a few dozen of them, they would have got shot. They would have got shot. The only reason they did not get open fired on is because it was just too many of them, and none of them had been searched.
Especially with the small amount of force that they had there. If you had the military sitting there initially, you may have seen shots fired initially.
Yeah.
And
I strongly believe that their numbers are what saved more of them from being injured.
I agree. And to reflect on something the last caller talked about, why wasn't the military involved or why weren't they there faster? And a lot of people want to say Nancy Pelosi. I don't even know where Nancy Pelosi comes into the talk. But within Washington, D.C.
Well, they believe that Nancy Pelosi was the one responsible for enacting the National Guard and that she dropped the ball for some deliberate reason on that. That's what they believe.
Yeah. So within Washington, D.C., and it is the only province in America, the only area of America, it was at that time 100%. The only person that has this say in D.C. at that time was Donald J. Trump. He was the only person that could enact it. It has since been changed to the Secretary of Defense, and that was last December. They voted and changed it so that the Secretary of Defense has the say as well because of this event. But at that time, Donald J. Trump was the only person that could enact the National Guard that day.
Wow. Well, I will say this. Regardless of who could have enacted the National Guard or not, whether you believe it was Nancy Pelosi, whether you believe it was the mayor of D.C., whatever the case may be, the notion that Trump was powerless in this and there was nothing he could do makes no sense to me. If you want to
Right.
say that, yeah, if you for folks who want to say that Nancy Pelosi dropped the ball or the mayor of D.C. dropped the ball, the notion that Trump could do absolutely nothing but sit by and watch as the president of the United States in his own city does not make any sense to me. But I'll let you continue.
Right. So that's about all in this. I just want to touch on something off topic real briefly. The other day you were
Sure.
talking to the gentleman, was you were in your car and you had a wonderful talk. It was the funniest shit I've ever heard. With the gentleman that thought he was full on support of LGBTQ, and he's going on going, "Oh no, I have friends. I have friends." I mean,
I don't want to get too. That
yeah,
was hilarious. I don't want to get too. Go
I just
ahead.
wanted to give you props for that conversation, and just like he was so, like I honestly think he didn't realize how wrong he was in what he was saying, but it was beautifully done. I just wanted to give you props on that. So that's about.
Thank you. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep in the LGBT
Yeah,
because they ban you a lot. So, in fact, I think it was because of that gentleman or the person after him, they banned the broadcast, and I hate that because all of my broadcasts when we have these on YouTube, if you go to the Handsome Liberal on YouTube, these broadcasts in their entirety are available. Like yourself, if you want to see what you said or how you told me off or made me look like a goof, you can see it on YouTube. So yeah, so the broadcasts in their entirety are reposted on YouTube the next morning under the Handsome Liberal. But when you got something like that in there, it causes a ban because that gentleman had to sacrifice his account and he also sacrificed the entire broadcast doing that. So
yeah.
it happened. Yeah.
But anyways, I love your stuff. We've talked a couple times, and I'll jump off because if I keep talking, it's just an echo chamber. So I'll let you let you pull some people in.
Always good to hear from you. Okay. Hey, you have a good evening, man.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
All right. All right. Trump supporters are in the minority. What the hell just happened? Okay, okay, there we go. My comments went away. I would have dropped the first MAGA coward at the barricades. Yikes. Well, unfortunate, unapologetically black man. Welcome back to the program. There were a lot of cops when the Trump supporters suggest that the cops are letting people in. That's true. There is video that is actually true. So all of the cops were not going to drop people. There were plenty of Trump supporters, or you want to call them MAGA sympathizers, whatever name you want to give them. There were folks at the Capitol building that day in Capitol Police uniforms letting supporters in. Now, if we want to get real crazy and conspiratorial, you could say, I'm sure somebody out there on the liberal side will say, well, those were actually Trump supporters who purchased Capitol Police uniforms and showed up there as a false. This could go anywhere, folks. This could literally go anywhere, but I'm just simply saying there is video that suggests that the Capitol Police did let some of them in there. They got let in hours into the riot. Well, regardless if they got let in or not, there is no denying that all of them did not get let in. There is no denying that folks broke into the building. There's a crowd going heave-ho and smashing the hell out of a police officer. There are people who are using bear spray on police officers. There's video of people grabbing their shields and grabbing their face masks. So it clearly was not 100% peaceful. We can say that some of it was or whatever the case may be, but yeah, it clearly was not 100% peaceful. But I'm going to go to my boy, Kerry, see what on this. Good evening, Kerry.
Hey, how you doing, man? I'm gonna
doing good once again.
I'm gonna turn my camera on.
Okay.
Point out something to you. You've already
Sure.
pointed out that the officers opened the gates, so I'm gonna point out something to you that I noticed as well because I saw that too. You remember my conversation with you before? I watched it on 2 iPhones and television.
Right. I do. Yeah, we talked about this earlier. Yeah.
So they were already going in before Trump had said march down there. I personally established that myself.
Okay.
The gates were opened. They saw that. I saw it. You saw it. Everybody saw that. Okay,
All
now
right.
look at the specific event of Ashley Babbitt when she was shot. Look at the position of the shooter, the cop. Look at where he's aiming. Look at where Ashley Babbitt's feet are. She's standing in the doorway. He's aiming chest high. If he shot at where he was aiming, he would have hit her in the feet. She fell to the ground holding her neck.
So what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting you're watching a movie. I don't even think Ashley Babbitt was killed.
So you believe Ashley Babbitt is potentially still alive?
I believe that was a crisis actor myself, because you look, it's a movie mistake. Look at it. You'll see what I'm saying. I promise. Look at that.
Well,
Look at where the
I'm
cop.
watching. Now,
Look at
I just showed a video in which the news talked to Ashley Babbitt's family, and they're grieving that she passed away. You think the family are crisis actors too?
they, they may be crisis actors. I'm not real sure. That I don't know. But what I'm seeing, what I saw on the video, because I watched the whole clip of her getting from the point where she they busted the window or whatever in the door. She put her feet up in the door. She was basically standing in the doorway. He's aiming chest high. How is he going to shoot her in the neck if he's aiming chest high? That's not physically possible. It's not.
So are you suggesting that the shot you hear? Are you suggesting that's a blank? I mean, somebody would have gotten shot.
Uh, it could have been a blank. Yeah, it could have been a blank. Could have been
So
very.
okay, so the policeman is stating that he has, for the most part, damn near went in hiding and wanted to get his story out because he's been getting so many death threats. So all of this is just made up.
It could have been. I seriously believe it could have been, because if by logic alone, where he's aiming his gun, where her feet are, when she's standing up in the doorway. Now she's standing up in the doorway. Say this was the door. Her feet are here. He's aiming right here. How did she
Okay.
neck when her neck's up there?
I can't. I'm not a ballistics expert. Oh, let me ask you a question. Did you in 2020? Did you support Trump or Biden or neither?
Neither. Like I told you before, I haven't voted in a long time, because I believe
Yeah.
it's been rigged for many, many years. Not just 2020. I think they've been rigged ever since I've been alive. But that's my personal opinion. Uh,
Okay.
but
Okay.
if
I mean, as
you look
far
at it
as
and draw
I
your
get
own,
what you're saying. You're saying look at the video and look at where his hand is aiming and where she's getting shot at. I know from the few angles they showed, I'm not a ballistics expert enough to answer that.
you don't
And
have to.
there's go ahead.
You don't have to be a ballistics expert to know that when you pull the trigger, that it don't kickback will not make you miss. It will not make trigger squeeze has more effect to you missing your target versus whatever. But I don't believe the trigger squeeze would affect it that much at that close of range. No, it definitely wouldn't. There's no way. Now if he was a couple hundred feet back from her, and then I could see maybe the trigger squeeze, but he was literally 20 feet from her. So there's no way that he shot her in the neck by where he was aiming. It's not physically possible.
Okay, yeah, I want. Okay, I'm gonna play another video. I want this one is tailored to you directly. It's a 2 minute video on what you're talking about. I want to, and for you folks who are watching, I will go to the box and we will move this on. But I want you to see this, Carrie, and like I said, the folks who are watching. Hang on a second. Let me stop my audio because I want to put it on the screen behind me, and I want to get your opinion on this. It's 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I try not to have these too long, for time purposes. But I want to ask your opinion on this. Let me see here. I can't even see where my damn cursor's at now. Okay, well, there we go. All right. Because
At you, I can find it cheaper.
it has a lead up commercial, so let me turn it down. So, I mean, because this is going to fall in line a little bit to what you're saying, but this is by a guy who was there, a documentarist, or however, the journalist, and he was standing next to Ashley Babbitt. This is his testimony. He was standing next to her. So when you start talking about angles of shooting and ballistics and things like that, this guy was there right next to her. Okay, so here goes.
It's the shocking video of Capitol rioter Ashley Babbitt getting shot and killed by a police officer as she tried to break down a barricaded door that led to the House of Representatives.
Window right.
The
See it?
video was taken by 27-year-old John Sullivan, who sees himself as a heroic journalist doing his job and recording history as it happened.
If I chose not to go that day, none of that footage would have been shown to the public. We might have never even seen Ashley Babbitt gotten shot.
But authorities don't see it that way. They have charged Sullivan with civil disorder and unlawful entry. What is your response to those people that say you yourself were one of the rioters?
I was not there to instigate, to riot, or any of the above. They make me into this violent person, this criminal that I'm not.
But is there a smoking gun that suggests Sullivan wasn't just there as a working journalist? Was he really there as another insurrectionist?
Let's go! Let's burn the down.
You could be heard on your own camera instigating the rioters.
Anything I said was to protect myself. Anything I said was to keep myself from being basically beat up by Trump supporters.
I'm driving right now, but I'm like really heated.
Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force veteran, has been embraced by the far right as a martyr.
The person that shot Ashley.
Okay, this actually is not the video. The gentleman in the video, but it's a different video than I thought it was. But go ahead.
Sure. I watched him do a interview with another journalist. He was just he's not like a big journalist for CNN. He does his own thing. He has his own little show or whatever, and he has like 5,000 viewers.
Is he Antifa though?
That guy?
Yeah.
He's BLM.
How do you know that? That's what I'm, because some folks have said he's Antifa. Now you're saying he's BLM. My question is, how does anybody know any of that?
He admitted it in that interview that he had on that guy's thing. Also, they have pictures of him at BLM when they were doing their protests. They have all that. He's there. He was there.
Yeah, but he's also at a Trump rally posing as MAGA as well. Hold on? What I'm asking is this question: if he's capable of instigating and pretending to be somebody else at a MAGA rally, why is it not possible he could be doing the same thing at a Black Lives Matter or a Antifa rally?
Absolutely. We talked about that earlier. I believe he's playing both sides, and he's just trying to make a name for himself. And people do some stupid stuff to make a name for themselves. But that guy, I'm looking at the video that he showed originally. It showed. It showed it all the way through. You probably can't show that on TikTok all the way through.
Well, and for time purposes, I don't want to, lose the audience by showing one video that long. But I'm just I'm bringing that up just simple because a lot of folks are suggesting that there was Antifa there that day. And when you ask them to show proof, they bring up John Sullivan. And my response is, if he can go to a MAGA protest and pretend like he's somebody else, well, if you're bringing up that you saw him at a Black Lives Matter or an Antifa protest, what's suggesting that he wasn't pretending to be somebody there as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody said something about that QAnon shaman. Did you know he was dressed up as a cop and attended the meeting in Congress? Same guy. Yeah.
Wow. I
It-
didn't hear about that. I
well,
didn't hear. Let
you know,
me just say this, based on all of the things that you and I are talking about, and what folks in the audience is stating as well. At best, this makes it clear that what they organized on January 6th was a shit show. Nobody knew who was there. Some MAGA, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, cops. It's fairly clear that whatever the hell they organized, regardless of if it ended up being peaceful or if it ended up being an insurrection, at the end of the day, it was a shit show. It was this.
it was
We're fortunate this didn't become worse than what it is. Go
that.
ahead.
Well, I'm gonna say this: if they really wanted to, like the MAGA crowd, because there was, I don't know if you've seen the pictures. I've seen plenty of pictures. There was a lot of people there. With that many people there, if they had really attacked the Capitol like they're portraying them to have, there wouldn't be a Capitol.
Okay. And I want to say real quick to 11 Butterflies in the comments, a friend of the program. I saw a
Sure.
TikTok live that day where they caught people changing into MAGA clothes and called them out. Well, the thing about it is, you just because they're changing into MAGA clothes doesn't mean they were not MAGA to begin with. They may have just came and changed for some specific reason. Because I've heard what you said mentioned by other folks. Is these are here's proof they're Antifa, they're changing clothes. I mean, it could be FBI. They could be anything. We don't know. They could be
Yeah.
MAGA that just want to put on a different outfit. I mean, there's no way to know, and that's why I'm saying, Kerry, is that it's a shit show. It's pretty
Oh,
clear. There's a whole bunch of people. Nobody's been vetted.
they don't.
Nobody's been searched. We don't even know what group they represent. All in one place. Go ahead.
Anybody can grab a flag and carry it around and say, I support these. And then behind closed doors, actually, they're the other side, And
Yeah.
that's the thing that I learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, guerrilla warfare. That's essentially what it is. It's guerrilla warfare. And the enemy will dress up just like you. And then how do I know who you are?
Well, but see, that leads to the problem I have when you stated that you were watching it on iPhones as opposed to the mainstream media, and you noticed that they had already began going into the Capitol building while Trump was still speaking. My response to you and others who said that is, if you got the Secret Service escorting the vice president out of there under cover of security because they believe it's a threat. Why
Mm-hmm.
would you leave Why would you leave the president less than 2 miles away, speaking to a totally unsecured crowd of thousands of people? You're leaving him out there, and they got a gallows in front of him. I mean, and I would look at the president and say, Mr. President, sir, you see that gallows? They want to put your running mate in that. We need you to get out of here. Why would you leave him out there speaking to that crowd? Nobody's been searched. Could be Black Lives Matter, could be Antifa, could be MAGA. You don't know. And just 2 miles away, there is a major breach of security to the point where you got all of Congress, all of the Senate hiding for their lives. Why would you leave Trump out there to continue speaking?
Yeah, I agree 100%. That doesn't make sense either. And
Doesn't
then
make sense.
none of we was talking about the National Guard on the 5th, or on the 5th they were there, and then on the 6th for some reason they weren't. Needs to be a major investigation into all that. Whoever was responsible for security, number one, they failed miserably. Uh, there's a lot.
It's a shit show. Well,
Yeah.
I gotta move it on. I gotta move it on as usual. But yeah, even if I go by what a lot of my MAGA friends are saying, at the end of the day, it's a shit show. It's a bunch of unvetted people. You don't know who's in the crowd, and you're just leaving the upper echelons of our politicians out there to fend for themselves. It's a shit show. But I appreciate you coming through, man.
Man.
All right. Okay. Going.
Let me see. If they investigated, what did that say? Oh, shoot. TikTok scrolled up. Trump wanted Pence to leave the Capitol Trump wanted Pence to leave the Capitol to delay the counting. Okay, there could be some validity to that, but that ain't the way you do it. Everyone always covering for Trump. FDT, oh my God. FDT, is that the new what is it? FJB? Oh my God. The Democrats knew that a riot was about to happen and did nothing. Okay, what did the Republicans do? I mean, if you're suggesting that the Democrats knew it was a riot, and this is what I just told the caller there or the last callers, that the belief that it's Nancy Pelosi who dropped the ball on the National Guard, or it's the mayor of D.C. that dropped the ball on the National Guard. Let's assume that's true. You're going to tell me President Trump had no power to do anything but twiddle his thumbs? He's watching a complete overrun of the Capitol building on national TV, and you're suggesting that all he can do is say, well, where's Nancy Pelosi? Like he's some teacher in a school that's being overrun by a gunman. There's nothing he could do? Is that what we're trying to believe? That doesn't make sense. There's no way, even if Nancy Pelosi completely dropped the ball, there's no way you're going to get me to believe that the President of the United States in Washington, D.C., of all places, had no options. Nothing he could do but just sit there and watch. That doesn't make sense. All right. He was shoving cheeseburgers in his mouth at the time. Give 507. Okay, love. Let's move it on. Let's move on. Let's move the party on. Common sense is in
Thank you for
common.
having me on.
Yeah. Say that again.
Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure.
I've been
It's a
waiting
pleasure.
for a while to actually put my piece across, but go ahead and ask the question.
No, I do appreciate you waiting. Sorry about the whole. I like to give folks a chance to get their point across, which will happen with you. On January 6th, do you believe that was simply a peaceful protest or an attempt to overthrow the election?
No, I do not believe that it was a peaceful protest because of the simple fact that even before January 6th happened, Donald Trump was claiming that it was going to be a rigged election. And I was watching even on TikTok way before the January 6th happened. And a lot
Okay.
of people were actually on TikTok talking about that there was going to be the insurrection thing happening, when it was going to happen on
So
TikTok.
you believe it was an attempt? You believe it was an attempt to overthrow the government?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, it was planned. Because I mean, honestly, to be honest, like if you think about it, if it was BLM and anybody else going there to go to that to do exactly what they did, we would have
Mm-hmm.
honestly be shot down 100%. It would have been like 100 times worse. So if you actually think about it, it goes from the top to the bottom. It was planned, and they even show, like the January 6th committee shows that there's proof that they already had, like, pre-planned it. They had the plans to have it go around where the the Capitol was. They had even paid their own people. The Republican Party had paid to be in that specific area. So a lot of these things lead to them to this insurrection. It's just,
So
and they're getting
go
caught
ahead.
up.
Go ahead. Yeah. It see with the investigation ongoing, and there's a lot of folks not cooperating with the investigation. It is very difficult to get to the bottom of whether what you're saying is true or not. I mean, I don't know. I don't because we all know, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, we all know that if a red wave takes place in November, which is widely expected to happen, this goes away. This investigation goes away. The moment the Republicans take over the Senate and Congress, it does not matter what you think took place there that day, whether it was a
That's
peaceful
why I feel
protest
they
or you think it
waited
was a
this
coup.
long.
It's over with. Say that again.
That's why I feel they waited this long, because I think
Yeah.
they're waiting for the Republicans to take over the Senate and the House, so that way they can cover up all their dirt that they did. I feel like 100% that this has all been preordained. And I honestly feel like Merrick Garland has a lot to do with it, because I mean, a lot of them have been paid off to get away
Yeah.
with their scandal. Like
Well, you
like
got to
Trump.
show proof. You'd have to show ample proof that people have been paid off. Though you can't just throw that out there. You'd have to show proof of that.
Well, you got to look at the people that have actually already talked about Donald Trump. Going back to what was his name again? The guy that did his time. but he's going to be one of the key witnesses in the January 6th.
Okay.
He's going to be a key witness. I forgot his name. I have it on the top of my tongue. But honestly, that's Trump's thing. Like, he likes to bribe people. I mean, look at Rudy Giuliani. Look at other people that have been arrested, for fraud while he was in presidency, and then he pulls them out. You see, so that's proof right there that he likes to bribe people. That's proof right there. Like, he takes them out. He takes them out of
Well,
prison, takes them
I
out of
will
jail
say,
for things that he did just to cover his own ass. Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
right. I will say this though, to some degree, some of this is the way politicians behave because if Hunter Biden with that laptop, for instance, and I do believe there's something there, we don't know if it'll ever come to light, but if Hunter
Yeah.
Biden gets wrapped up in his deeds, Biden is going to pardon him the same way you're suggesting that Trump pardoned his people. That's just
Mhm.
politics. I mean, nobody would expect President Biden to let his son go to prison, even if his son is guilty. I'm not defending his son at all because I do believe there's something there. But I mean, I would pardon my child, and I would expect my dad to pardon me, and I'm sure you
I
would do the
wouldn't.
same for your kid and vice versa. So I don't. I
No,
mean,
I wouldn't. To be honest with you, I wouldn't. Because my
you
dad,
would
like, if I did something
for
wrong, my dad would leave me in jail. He said, "You know what? You're gonna
well,
learn, cabrón."
let me rephrase it. If you had a son that used your name and your position to get paid in an environment where everybody, that was the method of operation. In Washington, everybody's getting paid. Your son used your name and your position to find a way to get paid. Nobody died, no children were harmed, there was no sex crime. He just simply got paid. Okay, it's a crime. It's a federal crime. You're going to let your child go down for the remainder of your natural life for that? Because Biden is 78 years old or whatever, 79 or whatever. If Hunter Biden goes to prison, he's going to be in prison for the rest of Biden's life. You would let your child go down when all you have to do is sign a pen and have him pardoned?
I would lock him up. Period.
You would let your child be locked up?
Well,
Okay.
like
I
it's
don't believe most people would do that. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I don't
I
believe
mean,
most
not
people would do something
everybody
like that.
would, but I mean, I think that if you do the crime, you do the time. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, I'm from where I'm from, and like, when you do something, there's nobody there for you but you.
Yeah,
You see what I
I,
mean?
I I
Like,
get what you're saying. I get what you're saying about being a responsible citizen. I'm just simply saying, if I think 99% of Americans, if they were in that situation, they're not going to let their child go down for the rest of their lives. I mean, because he would never see his kid again. Hunter Biden would be in prison for the rest of Joe Biden's life. And I just can't imagine most people doing that. I mean, it's a
well, my
financial
family did
crime.
it. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna bite the bullet here. You know what? My family did it to me. So, I've done my time. So, they left me in there. They said, "You're gonna learn, sucker."
Well, your family was not in a position to just simply at the stroke of a pen get you out of jail. You're telling me if your mom or dad, all they had to do was sign a piece of paper, they would not
They
have
wouldn't
done
do that.
that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Not
Then,
at
then,
all.
then I mean, you gotta have one of the most honest families with tons of integrity. I just don't believe most Americans would
It's
be that
not
way.
honest. It's called like tough love. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even called honest. It's just called tough love. My family, hasn't been like the top notch of, what I'm saying, respectable citizens. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? If it came down to it, though, and I have to do the time, I have to do the time, and that's it. Plain and
Fair
simple.
enough. Okay. All right. Like
You
I
know.
said, I'm going to be 100% honest, and I like to pride myself on the fact that I've never had any trouble with the law in my life. But if my child was in that situation and all I had to do was sign them out at the stroke of a pen, I might make them pay. I would make sure they paid their money back, things like that. But if nobody is physically harmed, nobody has been violated, nobody died, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna save my child. That's just me. Call me wrong. I'm sure a lot of the public would if I was a president and did that. But yeah, I would pardon my child all day, every day. It is what it is.
I
I mean,
mean,
there are
I was
perks to
looking
becoming
at one of your
president.
commenters. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I seen one of your commenters right there, and They said no one should be above the law, and it's like that's what I'm saying. Even Joe Biden, me, anybody, like nobody's above the law. Because if it was me or you that was doing all that, we would have been already arrested. Common sense. I mean, just what happened?
I get your point 100%, but at the end of the day, there are perks to becoming president of the United States. I'm going to use any perk I can to keep my own child free. If as long as I don't believe my child is an ongoing danger to society, to save my child, that is a perk I'm going to use all. If they give me that perk and I can forgive my
Yeah,
child for that mistake he made, I'll chastise the hell out of them for that mistake. I'll criticize them till the sun goes down for fucking up and using my
right.
name. But I'm not going to let them spend the rest of my life in prison if I can sign them out.
Yeah. I mean, I see your point as well too, but the other point is like Donald Trump ain't even president no more. So like what he did in the presidency, now he's a civil servant, so he can be arrested for these crimes, and that's the
Well,
whole
yeah,
point.
now,
Is
of
that
course, yeah, now. Yeah.
he should be arrested because I mean, like he's gotten away with so much because he could, and that's not right. That because you can do something that you should be doing what he did. You know,
Okay.
he shouldn't have been doing because to be honest with you, if you actually think about it, BLM, like he was telling everyone in his presidency to shoot the BLM people and to start a war with Mexico. You know what I'm saying? So he was not 100% the president that everyone thinks he was. Because to me, the way he was, you know, like especially when he went to the photo op. Remember when he pushed and shoved
You tell when he
everybody
walked
through?
across. You tell when he walked across the street to hold up the Bible and
Yes,
had the National Guard remove
yes,
everybody.
yes,
Interesting point. Let me bring that up. It's interesting you brought that up. He used the National Guard that day.
exactly. See
So
my point?
for folks, that's a great point you just brought. Wow.
Thank you.
For folks who are suggesting that Trump could not use the National Guard, he used the National Guard that day.
Exactly. Thank you. Now you see what I'm saying. See exactly
Wow, I
my point.
never thought of that.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
That's
He
amazing. No, that's foul.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Oh, wow. But that
Yeah.
is a really good point.
He used the
So for
National
folks
Guard
who,
to do all that. So come on.
yep.
He could
So
have
for
put the
folks who
National
are
Guard. He knew
suggesting,
about it.
yeah. So for folks who are suggesting that Nancy Pelosi was the one responsible for calling in the National Guard on January 6th, yeah, I would give you the photo op. That day he used the National Guard. So at the very least,
Right.
even if it was Nancy Pelosi's job, Trump proved that he also has access to the National Guard
Hmm.
because he used them. So, wow.
And then
I
not
don't know
only
where that's
that,
going.
remember when they were trying to shoot him and when they popped off his shots and they put him in the bunker and then they started calling him Bunker Boy. Remember that?
I don't
Did you
remember
remember that?
that one. I don't remember
Really?
that one.
That was
Wait.
when they started shooting outside. It was during the BLM thing, and then he was
Oh,
in,
yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah,
I do remember that. Yeah, I do
and he
remember
used the
that.
National Guard again when they
Yeah.
hit him down under the bunker.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you made. Wow, I think I'm gonna be probably using that one in a lot of debates in the future because that is something you hear a lot. That Nancy Pelosi did not call in the National Guard and she was
Right.
responsible and she should have did this and that and yeah, that just goes to show, regardless if it was Nancy Pelosi's job or not, Trump actually has access to the National Guard and could have done it
Right.
himself. So. All right, let me move on, man. That was a really good
Right.
conversation.
Thank you.
So appreciate that. Catch you next time.
All right.
That
You can't deny what the man said. That is, how is it false? I see Michael in the comments said false info. False info from what aspect? When he did that, what they referred to as a photo op, when he went across the street and had the protesters moved out of the way so he could go across the street with the Bible and give his spiel, he did use the National Guard that day. He used the National Guard to get those protesters out of the way. So that is
about as much proof as I can present to you that he has control of the National Guard if he needs to. He demonstrated it to you. I mean, you don't have to believe it, but it happened. Okay, I just hit Bruce City. Let me see what comes up here. I think it's Bruce City. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Give me a second.
So what do you think in regards to January 6th? Was that a peaceful protest, or were they actually attempting to overthrow the government?
I don't think it was an attempt to overthrow the government.
Okay.
And the reason why he didn't use the National Guard.
Say that again?
I was going to say the reason why he didn't use the National Guard is because it would have looked like a coup.
So do you think the National Guard needed to be used that day?
Oh, they should have been there at least as a show of force.
Okay. All right, fair enough. But you don't think that there was anything but you do believe the protest for the most part was peaceful.
Yeah, and then you just get the little mob mentality group going on and dumb stuff happens. But
so what
I did want to show you something if that's all right.
Go ahead if I can. I'm going to have a hard time seeing it.
I'll try. So this is right where it happens.
What am I looking at?
This is the rest of it, by the way. This is right before Ashley Babbitt gets shot, but you get the rest of the video.
Okay. Okay, is Ashley Babbitt the one with the red hat on there? I can't even see where she's at. Okay, I see the windows there.
Not yet.
All right. Okay, fair. Okay.
It'll show it.
Give me a little narration with it so I know exactly.
See all these guys back here? You got all this. You got all these SWAT cops back here.
What are
Ashley Babbitt was the red hat.
Okay, what are those guys?
They're breaking the window like they're dumb.
Okay. So they're breaking the window. Okay.
If you look back there, there's guys just walking around calmly.
So my question to you is, what was the cop that shot Ashley Babbitt?
No, watch this. Watch. Why did he need to shoot her when all these guys were right there?
How do you know he's seen those guys?
They gotta be having communication. You think those guys don't work inside there with each other?
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Okay, I asked you the question. What were those guys? I asked you the question. What were those guys doing with the window? You said they were breaking it like idiots, correct?
They were breaking it. Yeah.
Okay. So
when you're doing an escalation of force, show.
Okay. Let me give it to you this way. I asked you what were those guys doing with the window? You said they were breaking it like idiots, and then you asked me why would the cop behind the window shoot her when there were other cops on the other side? And my question is, you're admitting that even though the cops were there, the folks were still allowed to break the window. So the guy who shot Ashley Babbitt would have had a legitimate reason to think those cops were not being effective. If they can't stop the guy from breaking the window, what else can they not stop?
There wasn't that many people in that. There wasn't that many people in there. There was more cops right there than there were people.
And they're still breaking the window.
They're breaking a window.
Okay, he's on the other side.
You think Ashley Babbitt was communication, bud? Just like this.
So let me ask you this. Okay, let me ask you this question. With them breaking the window and him standing there with his pistol aimed out at them, and they're breaking it anyway, what do you, in your opinion, think he should have done?
You do a warning shot. You do a warning shot. You do a warning shot.
Cops are not trained to do warning shots.
I was in the Marine Corps. Trust me, you do warning shots.
Do you have any cases where you've seen cops use warning shots on people? Is that something you're suggesting that happens normally with American police? They fire warning shots?
In a situation like that, yeah, absolutely.
You have any prior cases where cops have fired warning shots and you've seen it?
I'd have to go look it up, but I didn't really look all into that. I just wanted to show you the end of the video anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
That's all I was here for.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just asking you that because I've never heard of a cop firing a warning shot. If I'm correct, the cops even advise that they actually do not even advise the citizens to fire shots in the air on New Year's because those shots can come down and hurt other
But
people.
you're also not going to shoot somebody without seeing an actual threat to their life. Ashley Babbitt was 4'10" and 100 pounds.
Well, and that's why I asked you, what were
With
those
no
guys
weapon.
doing? That's fair, and that's why I was asking you, what were those guys doing at the window? So I'm asking in regards
Those guys
to
are breaking the
him.
window like dummies.
Okay, so what was he supposed to do on the other side? Is what I'm at. You're saying firing a warning shot. I don't know where they
I
do
would have
that.
fired a warning shot. I wouldn't have just shot a little girl jumping through the window.
Okay, that's a good point. Let me ask you this: when a guy has a gun aimed out, why would she jump through the window anyway? When there's a man with a gun, why would you do that while
Mob
looking down the
mentality,
barrel
dude.
of a weapon? Huh?
Mob mentality.
Okay.
Mob
Well,
mentality.
You do understand when you engage in mob mentality, you're essentially leaving your own safety in somebody else's hands, right?
Absolutely. I'm not saying that she was in her right mind, but he was supposed to be in his right mind.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Like I said, if I was in that situation, and I asked you if you were in the situation, you said you'd fire a warning shot or something like that. I don't know if a cop could
I mean,
do that without.
that's what we did at like when we'd have civilian vehicle-borne IEDs coming towards you. If you didn't know if the car wouldn't stop, you wouldn't just freaking start shooting them up. You would actually use a 50 cal and put one through their engine block. But
but you got to understand.
And we got signs everywhere, just like all that.
But you got to understand the way you're trained in the military in a war zone is a lot different than American police with American citizens.
I get that. You're probably right.
Yeah, they're not trained to do that.
But
all right, fair enough. Well, I do appreciate you coming to us.
We have to agree that something does stink, dude. Something about it isn't right.
Well, I'm going to chalk it up under the category of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If I walked up on a cop, if a cop was aiming his gun at me, barking out commands, and I was ignoring those commands and continued proceeding forward and got shot, I would say in most cases he's going to be rule justified. You're looking down the barrel of a gun.
You're like 6'7", dude.
Doesn't matter though. Cops do not have to sit there and you don't know if she's armed or not. All you know is she is not listening to commands. That's all you know. And there are hundreds of more people behind her that you got to deal with as well. You don't have time to gauge her size. It's not like he could take her on and handcuff her with thousands of other angry people around. So
but I guarantee the police were communicating with them.
Okay, go ahead.
The police that were coming around the corner, like that were rolling up with the M4s, they were having in communication with the Secret Service, or not Secret, the Capitol Police.
Well, I played a video a few minutes ago of that same cop who fired the shot, and he described it as a scene of chaos everywhere. He said they were barking commands through the radio. Everybody was saying they needed help, and they were being overran and everything. I'm just simply saying, under the adrenaline that was being flowed that day, you got citizens that are behind the Capitol Police officer, cowering, hoping he would do something. There's so many things going on that all you see is a woman approaching you.
The only person that died that day, other than supposedly a second woman that I heard about, but I don't know. But Ashley Babbitt was the only one that died that day.
That is a good thing, and I said it before that if
I agree. I mean, it shouldn't have been her either, though. But anyways, it was good to see you again, man. It's been a while.
You're admitting that they had mob mentality, very similar to the Black Lives Matter stuff. You're admitting, and I know how Trump himself felt about the Black Lives Matter protesters. He thought they should be shot. I don't know why the tune changed all of a sudden when the mob mentality was in the Capitol building. But at the end of the day, you're admitting what she did was stupid. You're just saying she shouldn't have been shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm just going to simply say what I said before. Anytime somebody has a gun aimed at you, do not ignore their commands. I don't care if it's a bank robber or cop or somebody in the military like yourself. If you're looking down the barrel of a gun and you ignore those instructions, you're doing that at your own peril. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But
So
what can you do? I'm
not
trying to
America.
freaking keep us together
Yeah.
too, bud.
Yeah.
See ya.
Appreciate that. All right. Well, let me move it on, man. Appreciate you coming through anytime. Okay. Boom, no pun intended. Oh my god. Political. There is nothing more evil, violent than leftist Dems. Rep 8319. I see you out there. You always got that type of stuff to say. Well, when black folks are killed, you white folks say they should have complied. User 651. I look, and I understand your point you're making from a racial standpoint, but I believe anyone, if they were at a traffic stop, or if they were in a home, or if they were in a situation other than the Capitol building, if any citizen out there had a police aiming a firearm at them, barking commands, and that citizen did not listen to those commands, I believe in any other case other than in this one, because you happen to sympathize with Trump and what happened that day. In any other situation, most of the folks that are defending Ashley Babbitt right now would be saying she deserved to get shot. She was disobeying a command coming from a guy with a badge with a gun aimed at her. Everything she did that day was dumb. It was not in compatibility with maintaining life. And the guy shot her. And now my last call was talking about warning shots. That's something different. I have never heard of law enforcement talking about using warning shots. In fact, they don't even believe in shooting in the leg. You know, how many times you hear Black Lives Matter or folks who don't like the cops? Well, you should have shot her in the leg. Or they shoot to kill. If they pull the trigger, they are trying to kill someone. That is the only thing they're trained to do. They're not trained to take shots and all these other warning shots or shoot legs or shoot arms. The only shots they take are kill shots. So why would that change in the Capitol building? Unless you just simply want to sympathize with the protesters. I do believe if you take those protesters out of the theater they were in the Capitol building, and put them in any other situation in life, I think most of the people who are defending them would be saying, yeah, stupid games, stupid prizes. But because you support their effort, you're willing to overlook a few things. That's just the way I look at it. All right, moving on to the next one here. My guys are back for a minute again. Let's see what's going on. And like I said, they're trained to kill. They're not trained to fire warning shots, shooting the leg, shooting the arm. Every shot they fire is meant to take the target down hard. Modern colonizer, where am I going wrong on this?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks for having me on earlier. I don't know how we got disconnected, and Eric Holder texted me.
I don't know what happened.
Eric Holder texted me and told me to shut up or I'm going back to Guantanamo, you know?
Oh, my God. Shout out to Eric Holder. So what's going on? What's up?
So on the warning shot thing, I don't know exactly where we got separated, but yeah, I'm not saying it's their policy, but I'm saying it should be. I'm saying that I mean, I understand from the cops' perspective, dead people cost less. They don't have to prosecute them, you know. That's their policy is download the mag, right? But I'm saying they should be shooting warning shots, right? And to that mob mentality just real quick, to that mob mentality argument, I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying it's basic biology and chemistry that your brain acts different when you have, like for me, it took me every combat vet that I know of from Iraq and Afghanistan can attest to what I'm saying. It took about a year for me to get my act back together and realize I don't have a platoon of guys with machine guns backing me up, and I need to shut my ass up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a mentality that happens when you have a posse with you, you know? So I'm not saying it's saying it's biology.
Well, keep in mind that cop realized that she had a posse with her, just like folks are wondering on the rest of those why the Capitol Police didn't act. They knew it was a posse out there. Bruce City is saying cops got sued over it. Yeah, they can be. They're not going to. There's not going to be any judgment for the family of Ashley Babbitt. That type of a shooting, they're going to defend that cop all day, every day. We can sue, but it's not. Yeah, the family for the Babbitt family is not going to get anything from the city on that because it was trespassing, and not only were they in the Capitol building, but they were breaking into other areas that were barricaded off. So for folks who are suggesting that, well, the Capitol building is a public building, yeah, but the whole building isn't public. There are certain areas that are cordoned up. You just can't go anywhere in the building. And they were clearly breaking into places and up in Nancy Pelosi's office and things like that. Nancy Pelosi's office is not a public place. So no, Ashley Babbitt's family's not getting anything. But go ahead, Modern.
Right. And, like I said earlier, I'm mixed on it. It would be my position that I don't think that cop should face any type of prosecution. I think from you put yourself in his shoes or her shoes, whatever, that was a justified shooting. The only, unless the guy came out on an interview saying, I don't care who I shot, I was just trying to shoot somebody so that the rest would stop, then you'd start getting into that kind of gray area. And yeah, they were all dumb for being there. I guess what I'm getting at is the sort of the same pass that you would give any other large mass gathering is that 95% plus of them are there exercising their constitutional rights, and the dumbest 5% are the ones who are going to get put on the cameras and stuff. And these guys would fall into that. You want to march up the steps, you know what I mean? You want to do all that you're taking your grievance to your government. Absolutely. You start kicking in the doors and presenting a threat to the people inside there. Now you're crossing a different territory,
I agree.
Position on the January 6th protesters, every single one of them who were there all the way up to the front door of the Capitol were 100% within their constitutional rights. And it's the people who were in there ransacking the Capitol that should face prosecution. And I don't know who is and who isn't, but if anybody's facing prosecution just because they said on their Facebook, I was there January 6th, but all I did was get to the steps, send them the hell home.
Right. And I agree with that. But I think they only arrested like 400 and something people. Obviously, there were thousands of people there that day. So people who did not go in the building, I don't believe anybody. You got to keep in mind what is it? Innocent until proven guilty. So if the federal government charges you with anything from that day, they have to be able to prove what case they're making. And unfortunately, for a lot of the protesters, they were dumb enough to post their stuff on social media. Like the guy in Nancy Pelosi's office with his foot on her desk. Her office does not have surveillance cameras in there, probably. I mean, most likely, a congressperson like that does not want anything they're doing in that office to be on camera. A lot of them are corrupt. Let's just be real. So most likely any of the Congress people's offices do not have surveillance cameras in there. But when you let one of your buddies come in there and take a picture of you and then you put it on social media, yeah, you deserve a Darwin Award. You deserve to be locked up. And a lot of those folks went home bragging that they had infiltrated the Capitol building. Some cases stole stuff because I believe the guy who put his foot on Nancy Pelosi's desk also stole things from her, like stole personal letters and stuff like that and bragged about it. So some of them, there's no denying they committed a crime because they admitted it.
Right. And to his defense, I would have done worse in her office. There, you would have had to have a hazmat crew clean up a number 2 off of her desk. You know what I'm saying? And I would have buddies about that too. But no, in all seriousness, what was it? Eddie Griffin way back in the day was talking about gangster rappers, and he was like, real gangsters don't go platinum. First code of being a gangster is silence. Right. And yeah. It's like, how many people would not be in prison if they just shut the hell up?
Yeah. I've said that before. I'm a big avid fan of the First 48 on A&E, and it's amazing at how many folks are serving time in jail for murder because they simply gave it up. That's why I get into a lot of spats with folks on here who go, well, if a cop is just doing his job, just let him search your car or just talk to him. All he's doing is doing his job. No, shutting your mouth up keeps you out of a lot of trouble. You still have Trump in. By the way, you would still have Trump in office if he had a heated that same morning. But go ahead.
Yeah, me and you have agreed on that point many times. Like I got a video on my TikTok that just the thing is, biggest thing is civil forfeiture. Like, bro, these are not your friends. You know what I mean? I don't care if you're innocent. Get an attorney, because when you realize how, and that's kind of goes hand in hand with, I was going to kind of segue down a small rabbit hole with like the mass surveillance program. Let's say you're being tried for insurrection, right? And they don't have that strong of a case, but they know everything else about you, and they say, "Hey, we can start prosecuting this stuff on you, so you should just plead to something simple on this."
Yeah.
Saying that's happening, I'm just saying that's the problem with mass surveillance is you can really get your hands.
I'm well, not only that, but they may give somebody a deal if they're willing to admit. If you can name other folks in this video, for instance, you see the
Right.
Capitol building video where you got hundreds of people inside the Capitol building. Like one video is where they're crushing this police officer. Maybe you got somebody else on video that's clearly in there, but you're only going to get them on a trespassing charge. But if you can ask them to identify other people that were doing worse stuff in there, and you'll remove their case. Yeah, my guess is there's a lot of snitching that's taking place. But here's one thing: if you notice, none of the folks who got arrested are snitching on Black Lives Matter or Antifa. Not one of them in there that's been tried or sent to jail on this. Not one of them is showing up to court suggesting that Antifa or Black Lives Matter had anything to do with that. Why is that?
Well, see, that's where Republicans just don't know how to debate, and I think liberals are just as guilty of it too. Is that you just take this very very small sliver of something and try to portray it as the entire truth. I'm not saying there wasn't Antifa people there. I'm not saying there's not people from every political affiliation that would be willing to put on the other side's uniform to make them look bad, right? But at the end of the day, the vast majority of those people were conservatives who thought Trump had the election stolen from them. Let's just move on and get to the actual substance of the argument. You know what I mean?
Well, and see, I think the problem is just like with the election, even if the election was fraudulent, because Trump started claiming that the election was stolen the night of the election when the votes were still counted, you lose credibility when you say something that quick. There's no way for you to know you won by a landslide. They're still counting votes. The same thing happened with the January 6th event. The minute that happened, you had folks like Judge Jeanine Pirro on Fox News saying that that's Antifa. You're in a studio in New York City. How do you know Antifa's in that crowd? None of the Republican Congress, Senate, Mike Pence, the vice president, even Trump himself, none of them to this day has suggested that Antifa or Black Lives Matter had anything to do with that. But you had Fox News personalities in their studios in New York blaming the crowd of being Antifa while it was actively happening. How would you know that? You're hundreds of miles away. So when you do stuff like that, it ruins credibility in the future.
And if he would have just taken a playbook from George Bush, it only happened, 15 years before January 6th, is have the Supreme Court handle. See, everything about that recount was justified to me, except when they stopped counting. Then you were like, then why did you even start? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was some iffiness to the ending of it, but a recount was justified, and he should have went through the proper channels. That's
Yeah.
not up for debate on my end.
I
He
would also suggest calling the governor of Georgia and not saying that your election was stolen, but saying I need you to find me 11,000 votes. Looks kind of suspect too. Do you want to prove fraud or do you just want to win? He made it sound like I don't care if there's fraud in your state or not. If you find me 11,000 votes, I'm good, and that doesn't look right.
No, I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's a play on words, right? There's a lot of stuff that I think are plays on words against Trump. That one's not one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll give it that. What I think, and me and you've beat this dead horse over the head so much about, that Trump had it coming because of all the rhetoric he had against Obama and stuff like that. And I explained how, he was getting impeached while he was still taking the oath of office. From the voters' perspective, from the constituents' perspective, and somebody was talking about him being impeached twice, it's just like, and then you get the Steele dossier, which, I mean, most sane people will go like, hey, that was kind of a bullshit document, whether you're on the left or the right. You know what I mean? And so just from the voters' perspective, all 4 years, this guy who has finally been an outsider, finally something different than what we've been doing for so long, And aside from COVID, life was going pretty damn good. And then it just feels, I'm not saying I have any proof, but it just really feels like since the day he took office, objective number one, all else, let the country burn, get this man out and never have him back in. That's a serious and legitimate feeling that.
Well, you do realize, who was it, Mitch McConnell or what? Not Mitch McConnell. There was one guy that also said his whole goal was to make Obama a one-term president. He said that in Congress, in active session. He said that. So I'm just simply saying it's politics, man. It happened to it happened to other people. It wasn't just Trump.
No, I'll agree, and you've heard me test that. I think Obama had a successful presidency, and I think it was pretty sad that it was pretty much like we're not even going to read the bill if it came from the Obama administration, didn't they control the House and Senate for a little bit while Obama was
Yeah,
in?
yeah.
But at any rate, it was just no, and that's just BS, because not everything every president proposes is bad for the country. And so yeah, and it happens on both sides.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm trying to make is that when folks say that they never gave Trump a chance from day one and he had a target the moment he got put in office. My only point is it also happened to the guy before him. And not only did Obama have a bullseye on his back as well, Trump himself was shooting at the bullseye. Trump himself was suggesting that Obama was an illegitimate president, disqualified because he was from a different country. So the notion that Trump was going to get elected and get a fair shake after participating in all of that garbage seems like a fairy tale. You'd have to understand that he's going to have a heavy price to pay for all of the heckling he did to the guy before him. Usually, when a president gets put in power, you'll have your Hannitys, the late Rush Limbaugh, or somebody, the guys who do the dirty work, maybe Al Sharptons or somebody. You don't normally have the president himself being involved in the dirt. Whereas when George Bush was in office, Obama was not publicly heckling him like that. Trump was heckling the hell out of Obama. So, yeah, when you get elected, you're going to have hell to pay. You've been involved in all of this.
Right, and I don't disacknowledge that. I think I just downplay it more than you do, and that's why, like you, you call a shot the same both ways. But you know what? A lot of liberals don't. And what I would ask is, let's say it was Trump that had the exact same things going on during the Obama administration, right? Fast and Furious, Benghazi, just to name a couple, right? But there's been a couple where it's just been like, why is nobody looking into that? You know damn well they would have given him a colonoscopy if it was Trump over those types of incidences. And the idea that we're just not going to, I don't even want to use the word prosecute. We're not even going to investigate anything. Nothing to see here, guys. But with Trump, it was just full on open book. Find something
Well, I get your point. I get your point. You're suggesting with Fast and Furious and Benghazi, they gave Obama a pass. I don't totally disagree with you, but I would also respond by saying I don't believe that any of the other 17 or 16 candidates that ran against Trump could have got caught in that whole grabbing woman by the you know what scandal and still got elected. I think Trump has gotten a lot of passes too. I mean, suggesting that you could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and nobody has any problem with that. I mean, you can point out Obama getting passes. I'm not disagreeing with you, but the notion that they just attacked the hell out of Trump and he didn't get any passes and they held him there. No, he was getting a lot of passes. January 6th is a perfect example. If this happened with Obama in office, the same folks defending Trump would be attacking Obama. He's gotten some passes. He's gotten a lot of passes. So the same thing with go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. How much of a pass did he get though? Because we're still talking about that little interview he had where he said that, where he thought he was just talking man to man with somebody. I mean, come on, man. We've all had conversations with our buddies we don't want our moms to hear. You know what I mean? And so,
I can give you a lot more than that. I can give you a lot more than that. Inviting Kim Jong-un to the White House and getting nothing out of it. You don't think they would go nuts if Obama invited a dictator to the White House and the guy went right back home and started firing missiles again? He got nothing out of that. Nothing.
Right.
So yeah, they would be going nuts if Obama did that.
Uh,
Go ahead.
most of the conservative base would go nuts. Those of us with some common sense would say, "Hey, what we've been doing with the North Koreans for 50 years hasn't worked. Maybe we should try talking to them, right?" And I understand that Obama would have caught hell had Kim Jong Un been invited to the White House. I'm not saying he not, but just the idea that so whichever president did it was going to catch hell. But there's a time to be like, hey, let's talk with these guys. Not just Kim Jong Un, but who was the other guy that he got flack for having dialogue with?
Putin, the president of Russia.
No, well, yeah, he catches flack for that, but Putin wasn't a tough name for me. There's somebody else that they kind of gave him shit for having dialogue with.
Well, I won't say this. He had a meeting with Putin, and they actually took the notes from the interpreter. So he had a private meeting with Putin, and the interpreter who spoke to both gentlemen, the Trump administration took the notes, so there is no record of what was said at that meeting. How about taking documents to Mar-a-Lago when he left office? You talk about Hillary Clinton's emails, and you know how horrible that was. There are missing documents. He took stuff to Mar-a-Lago with him.
Right, and who knows what's on those? There could be some bad stuff.
Right.
What I will say though is, what about when Obama thought that microphone was off and he said, "I'll have more leverage after this,"
Exactly.
right?
And that's the only. And you're right. He said, "I have more power after the election." What I'm just simply saying is that this stuff happens to all politicians. You got a
Yeah,
lot of Trump supporters who make it sound like something that happened to him was unique, and I'm just simply pointing out this stuff. We can go. You see how well we're able to do it. What about Trump? What about Obama? So clearly, it happens to more than Trump. It doesn't
right.
just happen to Trump.
I do think it was unique to Trump, and I understand your justifications. I don't agree, but I do think it was unique to Trump that before he signed any bill, before he put in any policy, that they were committed to impeaching him and removing him from office. I don't even
That's
think
true.
I
I
don't
agree with that.
I don't even think the Republicans were that uh, dead set on. I mean, they weren't going to cooperate with Obama, but they weren't conjuring up a impeachment. You know what I mean?
That's true. And
That's
and I go ahead.
I'm done talking.
Okay, I agree that they had it in for Obama for Trump since day one, and they didn't do that for Obama. And I told you the reason why is because when Obama came in office, he did not have a history of heckling former presidents. When Trump got elected, he already had a nasty history. So it is unique that Trump got attacked from day one, but he also had a unique attitude about him. His behavior was unique. He had already been really heckling the shit out of the former president. If Obama had been heckling the hell out of George Bush, it would have happened to him too. Obama was far more well behaved than Trump was.
Oh, absolutely. And I always say fair enough on that point, but those are not impeachable offenses. I understand it's
Okay,
and
that's fair. Okay, that's fine.
targets on your back and everything. Um, I would love Obama to come back and break the whatever 26th Amendment, give him a third term. I just want to hear someone finish the speech. You know what I mean? The man was very professional and very eloquent, and he had a rather successful presidency. The stuff that's how bad Biden is that me, well, mostly libertarian, but still conservative based, is saying bring Obama back. Screw it. You know what I mean? That's how bad shit's going now.
Fair enough. Fair
But
enough. All right, man. Well, let me move it on, G. Let me move it on. I got somebody else up in here. Appreciate you coming through again, though.
you have me on, man.
All right. All right. Okay. Run one more up in here before I run it out of here. Political TikTok. We've spoken before. I can't believe hang on a second, political TikTok. I can't believe I hear people promote politicians like they're going to do something. You can be a new politician and still fuck up. Trump just happened to do a good job, but do you want to put everybody in as president that is inexperienced? Career politicians even though I know my audience do not like them. There's a reason why they keep promoting career politicians, because they don't make rookie mistakes like Trump did. You like the economy of Trump. I get that. But all of the name calling and stuff like that, that is a rookie mistake. A career politician wouldn't do that. So there are pros and cons to career politicians. Political TikTok. Good evening.
What's going on?
Nothing at all, man. In the trenches again.
I guess I think I want, and I'm not trying to sound insensitive about Ashley Babbitt. You know, she did die, but I personally believe that she was a part of a domestic terrorist attack. So for her to get shot, that should have been what, I hate to say it, but more people should have had that fate, because you can't expect to go. We've seen the video of them busting the windows trying to get through that barricaded place. This is the United States Capitol. The world is watching. So for her to think that they were going to be able to do that and everybody was going to be able to go home, and then your caller 2 calls ago said that she was a little girl. She was 35 years old. I mean, this is what
and she was not only 35 years old, she was a military vet with extensive combat training.
They planned on going in there, holding the representatives hostage, forcing them to change the electoral votes and give Donald Trump a second term. So
it's hard to argue that there is not some validity to what you're saying. I definitely, looking at some of the statements that were made, it does at the very least appear as if they were trying to delay the inauguration, if not prevent it altogether. But they clearly were trying to do something. They were there. Some folks were there to just protest, but there's no doubt that some folks had additional interest in doing more than just yelling out, "This is not right." There were folks there that were actively trying to alter something. We don't know what it was. We can argue about that, but yeah, there were folks there that were there to do a little bit more than just protest.
I just don't understand this sympathy for these people. I mean, they're talking like, well, maybe a warning shot, and we should have just pacifying these people. These people were there to lead this is what I believe, a terrorist attack against the United States. That was January 6th will go down in history of what they did. And I bet a lot of countries and a lot of people thought, wow, is that easy to really get inside the Capitol of the United States?
You know, it's interesting you say that, and I said that when that took place. If it's one, and I think Geraldo Rivera said that on Fox News as well, is that out of all of the things we can point to on January 6th, one of the things is it showed an exceptional amount of weakness in our political military structure. If you had, okay, we both know that there are Russian spies in this country, Chinese spies in this country, and we have spies in their country. You see what happened on September 11th, where they used 19 guys to hijack aircraft. Seeing that weakness in the Capitol building at a time when the Congress, Senate, Vice President, and even the president was only a couple miles away, knowing that what they could have done, if you could have gotten 100, say, Russians heavily armed, who knows how much damage they could have been. Now they wouldn't have been able to get thousands like they had in regards to the MAGA folks, but I would dare say it would not be that difficult for a foreign country to get at least 100 or 200 guys into this country that's willing to enact a mission. Right. And we made it clear that overtaking the Capitol building with a little bit of planning is possible. So at the very least, what happened on January 6th is a huge embarrassment to our security. But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, too, that at the end of the day, what this comes down to is Donald Trump failed his country. And he allowed that to happen. He told them that we're going to march down there. He told them, and if you don't fight like hell, you won't have a country anymore. That's going to be stoned into, if he was to run in 2024, I would run that on the TVs 24/7. Because what it was is, like you said, it was a dereliction of duty. I mean, he was supposed to defend the Constitution first. That was his, and that's what Pence did. And that's why I respect him so much now, because he knew what was right, and that was where he drew the line, and said, "Look, sorry, bud, I've been with you this far, but I can't continue." And you even had the Lindsey Grahams of the world, that night, oh, I've been with President Trump this long, but this is too much. And he's changed his tune so far. So I think what we're seeing is like I said, I think I've talked to you about this before, but the Republican Party is trying to become an authoritarian party, and that's just really what I believe.
I don't see, and I don't buy that. I will say this: if there is any shred of truth to Republicans becoming authoritarian, I would say that would probably just be Trump. I don't think because keep in mind, although they've changed their tune since the evening of January 6th, the evening after that was over with, and they had took back control of Congress. You had Republicans right and left saying this is enough, this is terrible. They were blaming Trump and everything. Now, once they found out that Trump was not going to be held immediately accountable for what took place, they jumped back on board the MAGA train. But
Right.
most Republicans were not in favor of what happened on January 6th. Really, the only people I've seen that have spoken positively of what took place on January 6th are Trump and MAGA supporters. But the established Republican Party members, they were all over like this is bullshit. They came, like I said, they came back on the Trump train once they realized he was not going to be removed from power. But they were not in favor of that.
In Georgia, some of the stuff they did was okay, but they're trying to change the laws. I think that's what it's about. It's changing the laws. And what they're doing is trying to control and keep power. I mean, let's think about it. In these heavily Democratic places, which are majority cities, somewhere like Houston and Texas, it's one drop box per county.
Yeah. I heard
about
what
I'm talking about. What they're trying to do is systematically change the system so that the people that they want win. I mean, even in Georgia, they changed it where the Secretary of State, even if they certify it that way, the legislator could come back and say no.
Yeah.
That's authoritarian.
I have seen that.
You have one party that says we want same-day voter registration. We want you to be able to vote by mail. We want you to be able to come in. We want you to just extend voting. And another one saying one drop box per county. If you vote by mail, you need to send in your ID. I mean, all these different things. So I think that's where the authoritarian is coming in, where they want to choose and have the power of who's in charge at the end of the day.
I have seen that, and I will say in regards to D1 in the comments, D1234 said, "Isn't it funny that all the counties that Trump claimed fraud in is largely African American?" I brought that up in regards to 2,000 Mules. I've seen the movie a half dozen times, and in the movie they point out places that fraud took place, and it does fit the narrative of what D1 said. It's places like Phoenix. I believe they went to Detroit, Milwaukee, Atlanta. And that was the main question I asked is that if you're in Wisconsin looking for fraud, what about northern Wisconsin? You're only in Milwaukee? What about rural Phoenix or rural Arizona? You're only in Phoenix or, upstate Michigan. You're only in Detroit. So I actually brought that up is that you're only go ahead.
Well,
I was just saying you're only in areas that are predominantly Democrat, and like you're talking about, even predominantly minority. It just did not look right. If you truly want to find fraud, examine the ballot boxes all over the state, not just the ones that are in predominantly Democratic areas. But continue.
Well, what I was going to say is I think that is a narrative that happens a lot, where they say in Democratic areas there's more gun violence, there's more robberies, there are more. Well, that's because somewhere like New York City has 9 million people.
Right.
I mean,
right. I was going to say this.
That's Wisconsin, and I'm not Wisconsin. That's Wyoming and Idaho and all them combined in one little city.
Yeah.
So, they do that with Chicago. I mean, oh, look at it. Everyone's getting shot and killed in Chicago. Well, Chicago has 4 million people, or 3 million, I think it is. But the point about it is that's where all the people are. So I think to conclude, I don't want to get off topic here, but I did want to bring this up because I've heard you say it. I do think the economy right now is not exactly where it should be, but I think we can't neglect that unemployment is down, wages are up. Now, they're not up far enough to be able to keep up with prices.
Hold on. Let me just say this. I was with you until you got to the economy under Biden sucks. We can point out little areas that ain't bad, but at the end of the day, the economy under Biden is
The
awful.
economy is tough.
It's
Right?
awful.
Hold on. The economy is tough right now because of inflation, and the prices of things have went up. The price of gas, the price of groceries, the price of all these other things. I feel like the reason that we can't feel it is because of the price of everything has gone up so dramatically. But if you look at the facts, even this year, this is what they're saying now. This is what the experts are saying. It's not what I'm coming up with. But they're saying that our economy this year is on track to outpace China. And that's been the first time since like somewhere in the 1970s. So I think what's happening is the economy is growing very quickly and we can't keep up with production. We don't have the people to keep up. We don't have the supplies to keep up. And that's where this supply and demand is being thrown off. And I like I said, I do think there's room for improvement. I'm not sitting here saying everything's perfect, but I make it seem as if some people are like we're in a Great Depression and all. I don't think it's.
It sucks. Listen, you had me on your side, and as far as I'm concerned, I say this all the time. When you're the coach of a team, if your team wins or loses, if your team win, they throw the Gatorade on you. They don't give the quarterback all the credit. They give you the credit as the coach. Even if you happen to be somebody like Phil Jackson and just good teams just happen to fall in your lap, you still get the ring at the end of the season. But if your team is doing horrible, you get to blame. The country is doing horrible economically under Biden. Even if it's other people's. Let me say it this way. Some folks are blaming OPEC. Some folks are blaming the pandemic and other outside influences that they believe Biden had no control over. And they're saying that that's so it's not all Biden's fault. I'm just going to say at the end of the day, if OPEC just started pumping tons of fuel and the economy in the gas prices dropped down to 99 cents a gallon, even if Biden had nothing to do with it, even if Biden had nothing to do with it, he would still take credit for it. So I'm just simply pointing out whatever happens under your watch, you're going to get credit for it, no matter how you try to spin it. Go ahead.
I'm not arguing that. Like I said, I'm not saying that we're living in a fairy tale. All I'm saying is, though, is unemployment is down, wages are up, and I think because of inflation, we just can't feel it because things are picking up and we just can't keep up with it. And I would say this to conclude. I think if you look in history, it seems as if when the Democrats get in office, we always have to clean up the mess of the last administration. So when Biden gets in there, he had COVID, unemployment. All these things like that. He was inherited a bad economy. And then, so now it takes time to get it going. It takes time to get it right. Trump, he got a good economy. Everything was great. Obama, he was inherited a bad economy.
Okay, here's my point on that. I understand.
Even Bill Clinton gave Bush a good economy, and then it went
True,
down.
true.
So that's
Let
what
me say this, and I
Democrats
agree with you.
never get to
I
come
agree
in
with you up to a point.
great.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying they never get to come in when things are great. They don't ever get to come in and then go back. No, they have to clean up. And all I'm saying is it's going to take some time. We still have this pandemic. We got the war in Ukraine. I just think it's a lot of stuff going on right now. And I think with what's going on, I think it could be worse.
No matter what happens, it always I could chop off both your hands, and as long as you got legs, it could be worse. I agree with that. But I will just say this: regardless of how bad things may have been in anybody's eyes, in regards to what Biden inherited from Trump, here's my point. If you thought things were bad when Biden inherited the economy from Trump, look at what the economy has done just simply under the Biden administration. I don't care what inflation was when okay, let's say you think Trump left a horrible economy behind. Since Biden took control in January of 2021, until February of this year. And I'm only saying February because that's the month before Ukraine was attacked by Putin. So I'm taking Putin out of the picture. If you
Right.
look what Biden did in his first year in control of the country, it got worse. So
I
it's
don't
not like
say that.
it's not like he took. Hold on. It's not like he took control of a horrible economy and then started turning it around. It's gotten progressively worse under him,
In the
and
first year of office,
exponentially worse.
when the first year he was in office, which I know the stock market doesn't affect average Americans, but the stock market hit record highs. Okay,
Most of us don't have stock.
and
That's irrelevant to the
I
working
said that.
American.
I said that. I said the average person that doesn't really affect, but that is the case. Even right now, this year, the deficit has went down almost. It's on track to go down $1.7 trillion.
And
The
I will
going
repeat. Give me something. Give me something that the average American can feel. The average working American
well.
does not
I
feel
would say
stocks and deficits.
before this war, you had the child tax credit. Parents were getting $300 per child. That was lifting many children out of poverty. I mean, that's what the number said. It said that child poverty was reduced by at least 35%. I'm not saying that throwing money at the situation is going to solve all the problems, but what I'm saying is I do think, I personally think that he's done somewhat of a good job. I mean, that's just what I think. I mean, I think he could do better. I'm not arguing that, but I think when you look overall, I just think, like I said, with China, we're about to outpace China. You got the deficit down 1.7 trillion. I think maybe I'm just looking at the bright side of things because someone else
That's
could say,
what it is. That's what it is.
somebody
That's what it is.
record inflation, record gas prices, record this, record that, but we're not looking at the other side of the coin. That's all I'm saying.
Let me just say this. At the end of the day, as long as people are going broke, they're not going to see the bright side of the picture. I mean, you got in San Francisco, they're charging $9 a gallon now.
But see, that has nothing
$9.
to do with this. Has nothing to do with the president of the United States.
It doesn't. Let me make it clear to you what I just said a minute ago. When you are the coach, what happens to the team gets blamed on you, whether it's your fault or not. You can't be president of the country saying, "Ain't none of this my fault." People are not going to accept that.
All I'm saying is we live in a global economy and it's a free market. So some things are just not controlled by the president, and that's all I'm saying. I mean, and I will admit, when Trump was in office, I think I did blame him for a lot of stuff,
Right.
So maybe, like you said, maybe it's just a little biasy there, but I just think people are just like, oh, it is tough. It is tough. $5 a gallon is tough. I'm not arguing that at all. Even the energy bills and stuff have went up. But I just think there is another side of the coin. But like you said, I think
When people are not going to look at the other side of the coin when they barely got coins. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Granny, see, you got a lot of feedback, Granny.
Is it still there?
Okay, I can hear you now. No, what I'm saying real quick, political TikTok, is you saying looking at the other side of the coin. When people barely got coins themselves, they're not going to look at the other side. Granny C, what do you think about the economy and things? What do you think about Biden's job as a whole since he's been president?
Hanson, I love you, but I gotta disagree with you on this one because let me tell you, there has been a concerted effort to F Biden's economy since he took over. Governor Abbott shut down his ports, would not even let those trucks get in there. My grocery store had empty shelves, which has never happened before, and they did this on purpose. Additionally, the gas, barrels of gas, the prices, even the hearings that they recently had, the gas owners said that they're not going to give us any breaks on this gas because they're making so much money and they don't give a damn.
Right.
They don't care about the American people. This is not Biden's fault, even though it's on his watch. They had these things in place because they want to fuck the economy so that they can so-called take back over in the midterms in November. This is a concerted effort that they're doing, and this is the reason why they're doing it. And if the American people don't look and see what's going on, because they want you to look at the little birdie and take your mind off of what's really happening. I mean, Fox News is sitting up here telling people don't watch the hearings on Thursday because they know Hannity was in on it. He was texting. So was Laura Ingraham. They were texting 45. This is the thing. They've been setting all of this crap up in place because they know that their lies and everything that they've been doing is coming to a head. And the economy was a part of it. And I don't trust any of these folks when they're sitting up there advising Joe Biden on the economy. They're doing that because they want to see him fail as well. Y'all got to look at the real picture. You say Biden took over, a year and a half ago, and since then, it's been a concerted effort. Everybody's been like, okay, we got to fuck this economy. Let's go ahead on and raise the gas prices. Let's go ahead on and forget about getting the truckers out there.
Let me get in. I will just say this. I talked to most of the folks I talked to are MAGA. And I will say that listening to you suggest that they've been targeting Biden since day one. You sound exactly like Trump supporters defending him. You're saying the same thing, that they've been targeting my candidate, making it hard for my candidate. They're not playing. You really sound just like them defending him. It's almost the same story.
Well, in this case, I'm going to have to defend him because it is a true fact. I mean, come on. Did Governor Abbott shut down the ports in Texas and would not let those truckers get those goods and services to the grocery stores or not? Is that a true fact or not?
That is true.
That is true. When you looked at the Build Back Better that he tried to pass, he wanted insulin, only $35. They didn't want that. Tried to provide some type of relief to people that were taking care of their elderly parents. They didn't want that. They wanted this economy to be trash because they know that the economy is the most important.
Exactly.
They know that the economy is the most important thing on the top of the American people's mind. And I just think, like she said, I think it's a converted effort from the Republicans from day one to stop any help. They voted against the child tax credit. Anything that they could do to stop them, I think they've stopped them. You need 60 votes. And even what's his name? Joe Manchin and Sinema, they're against it. So what can he do? His hands are tied.
Well, I go back to my original statement about whatever happens when you're in office is on your watch. As a president, your job is supposed to be, and I'm talking Trump too. This is not just something unique to Biden. I strongly, in my opinion, when you're president, your job is to unite the nation, just like a coach of a team. Your job is to unite the team. If the quarterback or the players are deliberately missing blocks so that the quarterback can get sacked, then as a coach, you need to find out what's going wrong so that the players on the team are not working with each other and trying to destroy each other. As the president is supposed to start unity from the top. You're suggesting that the country is not united. I'm fine with that. But it's happening under his watch.
Maybe I'm wrong because I'm younger. But this is not the regular Republican Party.
Thank you.
This is the party of Donald Trump. They tell him he tells them to jump, and they say how.
This man has a hold on these folks. They can't even think for themselves anymore. And they do everything lockstep in everything that he wants, they do it. They're no longer working for the American people. They are working for him. I've never seen a group of men give up their balls like this. I've never seen a group of men do this before.
Okay,
like, this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Internationally, it's embarrassing. And
let me hear. I want to ask Pitbull. Pitbull. Okay, I'm obviously I'm in the majority here.
Let me say something real quick, and I'm gonna be short and quick. Y'all keep saying that Biden has nothing to do with gas prices. He has absolutely a lot to do with gas prices. When you stop drilling on private land,
don't even.
Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish. When you stop drilling in the Gulf and on private land, and you say, "Hey, here's these leases over here that I'm going to give you," it's going to take them years before they get the first barrel of oil out of those new leases. So yes, that does affect our gas prices here. Y'all keep saying that he does not have nothing to do with gas prices, but he has a lot to do with our leases on the land that we can drill on, and he's stopping all
believe
that.
that some of these oil companies are not drilling on our land because they figure, why drill on our land when we can get it overseas and then mark it up and give it back to you?
So, Granny seeing political TikTok, you're suggesting that the president has nothing at all to do with gas prices, correct?
90% of gas prices are based off of the free market.
Supply and
The
demand.
market, and they hourly increase those prices hourly. Okay, Joe Biden's not doing that.
Supply and demand. It's supply and demand. When you stop their drilling off of certain drills, and then you tell them, well okay, you got to make all yours off this drill. Okay, yeah, they're going to raise their prices. Of course they are.
Well, Pitbull, are you saying that that's Biden's fault, that Biden's doing this, or the company's doing it?
Biden's the one that shut their freaking lines down.
No, I don't believe
Are you talking about fracking?
He shut a lot of their drilling down. It's a lot to do with fracking. He shut a lot of their drilling down.
Let me tell you.
Let's be real here, and I know I'm a conservative, and I respect him to an extent. But me and him do not agree on 100% of things. But I can see right now he actually sees my point of view on this.
There are 4,000.
I'm not. I just, like I said, I believe that when you're the coach of the team, wins and losses are, you need to figure out why your team is losing. All it is, I'm the president of the United States, but none of this is my fault stuff. It's not going to go anywhere.
I'm not saying none of it. I'm not saying none of it. He does have some responsibility in a lot of things, but there's certain concerted efforts that are going on behind the scenes that the American people are not aware of, that is meant to put him in a situation where it's the economy, stupid. You know, remember that old saying?
I get your point. I get your point. I'll just say this: every single president, at least in our lifetime, has to face folks who have a concerted effort behind their back to ruin their political career. That's not something unique to Biden. We were doing it to Trump. Trump was doing it to Obama, and folks are doing it to Obama, et cetera, et cetera. They all have to deal with that. But for some strange reason, under Biden, the economy is exceptionally bad. So I'm just saying, I can't give him a pass on
this. It's because of the efforts. But can I ask you a question? Can I ask you guys a question? I'm going to agree to disagree with y'all on this, because we're not going to agree on it. But Pitbull said that he was a conservative Republican. Is that correct, sir?
I'm a conservative, yes.
Okay, can I ask you a question here?
Go ahead.
All right, so the Republicans' agenda, okay, they are trying to repeal child labor laws, all right, because they want your 9-year-olds to get out there and start working, all right. They want to have it legal to marry little kids that are like 12 years old. Now, these are some of their things that they're going for. They will not support gun reform, okay. They support domestic terrorism. All right. They voted against capping the insulin prices, okay, for people that's got diabetes. Now, is this what Republicans are supporting?
Let me tell you one thing. They don't support domestic terrorism.
Let him respond. Let him respond.
On the record, voting against these things.
Granny, let him respond. Go ahead, Pitbull.
They do not support domestic terrorism. I promise you that. And at the same time, actually, insulin got to be cheap under Trump.
But they just voted recently, sir, to against capping the price. The Republican votes are in. Mitch McConnell has them all in lockstep voting against the capping of the price of insulin.
Here's where I have.
Everything's going up in price because of Joe Biden. Inflation right now is through the freaking roof. It
Well,
is.
let me say this. Let me say this in regards to what you were talking about, the Republican support, Granny. And I'm a liberal. I know it may not be hard to it may be hard to believe for some, but I do lean left. But I will say this: the laundry list of things you just suggested that Republicans support, like child labor and terrorism and all of that kind of stuff.
It's on the record.
That reminds me. That reminds me of when the Republicans suggest that the Democrats support stuff like aborting a child that's 28 days old and stuff. When you go too far out,
First
it
of
just
all,
to
the
me,
abortion thing, that's nobody, my private parts are nobody's business. Okay, there's not, the
that's what
government should not
I
be in
get
the
it. I
middle.
get it. No,
The
hang
government
on a
should
second.
not
I'm
be
not.
in my panties.
I get it. Hold on. Let me finish. I get it. I'm not. I'm pro-choice as well. I'm just simply saying when you state that folks are in favor of stuff that is way out there, you kind of lose credibility. Just like when the Republicans suggest that Democrats are in favor of aborting a kid that's 7 and 8 days old and all of that crap. When you say that the Republicans are in favor of terrorism and stuff like that,
Well, I think,
Sir, these
you get what I'm
votes are
saying.
on the
Go ahead.
record. These votes are on the record. Look at the Republican votes recently on these subjects, and you will see that Mitch McConnell has them in lockstep voting against these things and voting to repeal child labor laws. Like, when did we go there? I mean, I don't want my
To be honest with you, okay, child labor laws, to be honest with you, I mean, I started working when I was 13. I mean, I was able to go out and buy my first car when
and there was a law
I started when I was 13. They had a youth program in my
She
state.
said 9. She said 9 though. Is that right, Randy?
I
You
don't
said 9 years old, right?
Well, I'm exaggerating because I'm trying to tell y'all
And that's what I'm
exaggerate.
saying.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. Don't exaggerate like
the thing is, the child labor law is what they
Exaggerate.
voted against. Okay, look
Well,
it
that's
up.
funny.
That's the thing. That's the real true fact about it.
well,
you admitted openly that I'm exaggerating. I'm just simply saying when you make wild exaggerations like that, it's just like when the
Well, I'm
Republicans say
doing
I
it for
want to.
emphasis because you can look it up and see it for yourself.
Well, I think too, what happens is the Republican Party, if they do it in one state, someone says the whole like that Republicans trying to have little children marry or whatever. Well, that happened in one state. So
in Tennessee.
Yeah, so now but that's not the whole Republican Party's agenda. That would maybe
right.
A couple people
right.
with one.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're a Republican, in Tennessee, let's say, I mean, come on, folks. This is outrageous. Y'all care about kids. You care about children, and letting this go on about child labor laws, voting against that doesn't show that you care about kids.
Also, if I'll just say this, this is a both sides rebuttal. If you want to point out crazy stuff that, like what you're talking about, not caring about kids, I would submit to you Whoopi Goldberg. She said some of the craziest stuff on The View, and I watch The View every day. She don't even know what a gun is, and she speaks regularly about gun control. There's going to be crazy people on both sides. There are going to be crazy people on both sides. I'm just pointing that out. Don't take the extremes of the parties and make it sound like it's the norm. I tell the right about that when they make it sound like AOC represents the whole Democratic Party or defund the police. The whole Democratic Party does not want to defund the police. So both sides do this. And I regularly try to fight against that. But go ahead.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, one, they're never going to take the guns away. They will never take the guns away.
I don't want to take the guns away. I have a damn gun. I'm not trying to take anybody's gun away. I don't want to an AR-15 out there on the street so the 18-year-old can get to it. We need to get that age up. Don't you agree with that at least?
Well, I would say,
but will you let an 18-year-old join the military?
Yeah, but
they're trained in the military. In the military, they have. In the military, they have a lot of control over that fight. In the military, you can't leave a base and go to Walmart with your M16. You can't even have your M16 until you can show proficiency how to use it. They don't just give you an M16 and let you sit around eating cereal all day. You have to know how to use that, and you can't. And when an 18-year-old in the when an 18-year-old,
go ahead. I mean, and I kind of agree a little bit. you're using an 18-year-old's mind to be able to buy an 18, let's just say an AR-15. Okay, now an 18-year-old, let's face it. I mean, you're not mature yet.
Right.
We all know that. We were all 18
Right.
at one point in time.
I think that's one area when it comes to raising the age of owning a firearm. I think that is one area where even on the Republican Party, we're starting to see cracks.
I agree.
I mean, because I played the video on my broadcast the other day where even Trump is in favor of that. So I do believe we're starting to finally. I don't know how many people had to die first, but when you really look at who's doing the killing in this country, it's the young people. Whether it's you want to point out the violence in Chicago and that stuff that the right loves to point out, or if you want to talk about mass murders at schools and things like that, it's the under 25 crowd that is overwhelmingly doing this stuff. So that
I'll tell you straight up.
Yeah, raising the age shouldn't be this hard.
I'll tell you straight up. I'm a white boy. I was raised in the hood, and it ain't the old OGs that I'm worried about. It's the freaking little young kids walking the street that I'm worried about these days.
The immature people, the folks who are, the immature crowd, the folks who are not mature.
I think when you think about it, if you're telling me a high schooler that's 18 years old can go in and get a gun and they haven't even graduated high school,
I mean, that's true too. I was 18 when I graduated.
Yeah,
I was 17. Pitbull, you're saying that we can find common ground on this actual issue of gun reform?
I'm starting to think so. If we can get the NRA to back out of it, if you leave it up to the Republican politicians and the Democratic politicians, I think we'll find common ground. It's the fact that they know the NRA is not going to pay people. It's the NRA is the hurdle right now. If you can get the NRA out of this conversation, I think you will get that 21-year-old restriction you're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. I feel sorry. Really bad that United.
I mean, the way, but
can't figure something out. I mean, these are supposed to be, the Senate was supposed to be very intelligent, highly skilled individuals. That's why it's only two of them, but they can't sit down and really have serious conversations like me and you are having. I mean, I just think it's sad. I mean, it's unbelievable to me.
Well, this is the hard part, and this is what people are going to destroy. They're going to try to come at the Republican Party for. And Joe Biden actually slipped up a couple days ago. He wants to be able to ban all semi-automatic handguns, 9mm and everything. I promise you that'll never happen.
Okay, that's fine. At the end of the day, I'm willing to take anything better than, well, we can't do nothing, so let's just keep doing what we're doing. Trying anything at least gives us an opening to look and see if that'll work or not. I understand the right is saying that nothing you do to guns will actually make a difference. If that's the case, then let's raise the age of 21, and if it makes no difference and you want to lower, we can investigate that. But I'm willing. I would be happier to try something and have it fail than to try nothing and keep having this happen. And that's what the right has been promoting.
Would I be willing to take the age of 21? Absolutely. But at the same time, but hold on. Let me add something. At the same time, let's take gun-free zones out of the way.
Let's do what?
Take gun-free zones out of it. Like, take gun-free zones.
What is that?
Almost all mass shootings are in a gun-free zone. A school is a gun-free zone. Even with my CWP, I cannot have my gun on me going in to pick up my kids from school.
Well, I don't think a person should be able to go and, a parent.
So what you're suggesting is you want to have guns in hospitals and anywhere you go, you want to carry a gun in a bar?
If I'm legally able to carry, I should be able to carry a gun.
What about in the bar? What about in the bar while you're drinking?
I can legally carry in my state in the bar, as long as I'm not drinking.
Okay, all right. You can legally drink, so why should you not be able to carry a gun while you're drinking?
Now, but see, that impairs your impairment. That messes with your impairment. So at the same time, if you go to pool and you've been drinking, you might shoot somebody who's innocent, and you are, you know what I mean? Let me just say this in regards to guns in schools.
I think little league games across America, little league games and basketball games and football games across America show what can happen when you put parents in around kids. There are parents fighting at little league games all over this country. I don't know if letting everybody bring guns is a great idea. I think we want to focus on getting the folks who are killing our children in schools, but I don't want to try to solve one problem with a solution that's worse than the problem. There are
But
parents
most
fighting everywhere. You don't
most
like
of
the
our
aunt
mass,
calling your kid out, huh?
most of our mass shootings are in gun-free zones. They
Yeah.
are. I mean, it's proven. You
But
know,
what about the dad that got mad his child got called out at home plate and beat the shit out of the umpire? You want to give him a gun?
that's not what I'm saying.
But that's what's happening. That is what's taking place. And that happens far more often than kids getting killed by crazy gunmen. These parents are fighting, they're beating up coaches, and that's just happening everywhere. You want to get them guns?
Well, I mean, that's. But see, he wouldn't be the only one there with a gun. Is my possibility. He could probably
And
be shot.
nobody, you realize how much friendly fire and how many accidents you got everybody sitting in the stands on the bleachers watching games, and all of a sudden the parent and another parent and the umpire all having shootouts in the middle of the pitcher's mound. You realize how bad that can go, how fast that can get bad.
I mean, let's face it. There's gonna be bad people out in this world. There is. We're not gonna stop everything. But if you had 20 guns pointed back at them, do you actually think they're gonna do something?
I hear that. That's a great question. Let me respond by just simply saying this. Rationality, logic, and rationality works on logical and rational people. These are not logical and rational people. A lot of the folks that are committing these crimes plan to die in the process. So the notion that well, I'm not going to go shoot a school up if the teacher's got guns. If the guy is prepared to die anyway, that's not going to be a deterrent. You're using rationality on irrational people, and it's not going
Yeah,
to
but
work like
okay. Well, how many of these mass shooters are still sitting in a prison right now or a jail?
if
They
you
went.
go,
They
I
what?
get
They
what I get
didn't
you.
go in.
If you, yeah, they're only sitting in jail because the cops didn't shoot them. If you go and shoot a school up, even in areas where they have gun laws like Chicago and things like that, unless you're just completely out of your mind, you would have to realize even in
Hold
heavily
on. Let me
anti.
address a comment. The true Trump. It just says the white ones. Well, what about that subway shooter? I mean, we can't just go just
Yeah.
whites. Come on, let's be
Well,
real here.
we can also talk about the DC snipers that were black too. I get that,
Yeah.
but I'm just simply saying that at the end of the day, irrationality does not work in these cases. Because these people are irrational. You know, even if you go into a heavily anti-gun city, that if you go shoot up a school or a supermarket or somewhere, the cops are coming to kill you. So the chances of you surviving it, yeah, it happens, but don't count on that. I mean, you'd have to know going into something like that, you may lose your life.
I mean, you may call me crazy here, but I just think when someone says, "How do we solve gun violence?" and they say, "Well, more people have guns," I don't think that just doesn't sit right with me. I mean, how do we stop people from getting shot? Well, we need someone else to shoot the person that shoot. I mean,
Well, listen, when I'm
I don't
not at my
understand that
job place,
logic. I don't understand that
when
logic.
I'm not at my job place, I do have a pistol on me. Okay, I don't carry just for my safety. I don't carry just for my family's safety. I carry for your safety. I carry for your daughters, your sons, your mamas, your dads. I carry for everybody's safety. If I see something going wrong, I'm going to intervene.
And I
You know, but
appreciate
I
that. I think
carry
that's
for
a good thing.
everybody.
I do think that's a good thing. But I mean, I was delivering the other day. I delivered, and a guy was walking in the neighborhood, and like you said, he was walking his daughter, and he had his pistol on him. And I'm just thinking to myself, I mean, we can't even walk the neighborhood without being locked and loaded. I mean,
Dude, I don't leave the house without a gun on me.
That's
Honestly.
I mean,
I
America.
don't.
but you see
And
what I'm
folks,
saying? You can't take a stroll in your neighborhood without being locked and loaded. I mean, this is what we're going to accept.
And folks continue saying America's the best country on earth, but you can't leave your house without a firearm. Look, folks, I do gotta wrap it up. I gotta get up in the morning, just like
Hey,
a
that's
lot of you
fine.
other
I got to
living
go to
folks.
bed too, but it was
All
good
right,
talking to you.
absolutely. You guys too. I'm sorry I didn't get to my other gift here, but I do gotta wrap it up. I gotta get up in the morning. How often does that happen? I don't know. I'm looking at the comments because it's never the gun's fault, especially for the paranoid. Yeah. All right, folks, 7 p.m. Central, you know where to find me. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I got to go.